on Palm Sunday. Bus carrying 27 members of the Griffith High School basketball team and their coaches were headed to a state tournament game Saturday when it was sideswiped by a car where the driver of that vehicle was reaching for a spilled drink and then rolled over in a ditch on I-65. All 20 students have been treated and released, as well as the 3 coaches of that team, a trainer, the ball boy, and the driver. Chicago sports. Blackhawks stubbed their toe on the Minnesota Wild, losing 3-2 in a shootout. How about this state's only NCAA tournament basketball team? That would be the DePaul women, beating Louisville 73-72 behind our new favorite player, Jessica January. Season high 25 points. Major League Baseball, Cubs over Kansas City 5-2. White Sox beat Oakland 6-2. The news, a service of Lead Safe America. Do you live in an historic home? Renovating? Your children could be at risk of lead poisoning. Takes just a microscopic amount of lead dust to poison a child. Learn more at leadsafeamerica.org. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Republicans ask, what works, what doesn't work. Republicans appeal to your head.
The Joe Walsh Show.
But what do Democrats say? Let everybody in. Let everybody come to America. Don't build walls. Tear down walls. It's why we're in the problem we're in. Republicans cannot make freedom and individual responsibility important.
The Joe Walsh Show. Weeknights starting at 5. Right after Sean Hannity at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Business moves at the speed of trust. Trust in your product, and just as imperative, trust in those that represent your business. For almost 3 decades, Flex Execs has assisted their clients in becoming more competitive by identifying the right talent for interim assignments or special projects at the mid to senior level. Flex Execs' roster of talent is superior and unmatched. Flex Execs will help you meet your deadlines, goals, control cost, and place the right people who will deliver desired results. Business moves at the speed of trust. Trust the people that represent your business. You can't afford not to. Connect online with Flex Execs at flexexecs.com or call 630-655-0563 and ask for Chris Swanson or Karen Murphy. Flex Execs, moving business at the speed of trust. Call 630-655-0563 or visit them online at flexexecs.com.
5:06. Let's get an update on the roads this morning. Jumping into our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. We get the latest with Jim Talamonte. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Mike. Inbound Eisenhower to Austin, a crash has just cleared. It had been blocking that exit ramp, and now everything is open in that area. We're not seeing any delays on the Ike. The Edens of Kennedy are fine right now. 190, getting a little heavier. You'll have delays there in the next hour or so, if not sooner. Stevenson is fine, so is the Ryan. I-94 eastbound before 421. There's a crash blocking the center lane. It's at mile marker 33. South side, police are clearing around 102nd at Holstead after an earlier reported shooting. Traffic is a service of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. Someone you know is suffering from Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. They're dealing with excruciating pain, days when they won't be able to get out of bed. Help someone you know and support the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America at ccfa.org. Traffic answers when you need them most. Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answers starts next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center. 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. We get the latest this morning with our meteorologist, Kevin Snyder.
Partial sunshine today with a high of 49. Then tonight it will become mostly cloudy with a low of 40. For tomorrow, a breezy day with partial sunshine, wind gusts up to 30 miles per hour, high 61. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
33 at O'Hare, 38 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 5:30, and Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts now on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by The Lou Bridges Show, a show about the greatest financial crime in history. Saturday mornings at 8 on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So today we mourn the death of Iowa basketball.
It was a good first game in the tourney. It was successful, and then Villanova is a really tough team.
I haven't seen Villanova
Okay.
play a first half of basketball like that since they beat Georgetown in 1985, and probably the greatest upset in college championship finals history. The first half looked like a 20-minute 3-on-2, 2-on-1
Okay,
drill.
we start. All right, after. All right.
No, I'm not done
Okay.
making fun of Iowa basketball.
Stop it. After the first 10 minutes, I knew it was over. All right.
Here's what
Then I let it sink in the entire rest of the game.
I am now redefining Iowa State instead of the Big 12 as a Kansas-based team.
Oh, really?
So they don't have to wear the stink of Iowa and Northern Iowa.
Stop it.
I mean, Northern Iowa. Did you see that game?
Yeah. Oh, that game was insane. That was awesome.
The greatest collapse in college basketball history. Up 12 with 44 seconds left, and they lose in double overtime.
That was great. That was a great game.
Here's what I think the problem is with Iowa basketball.
What's the problem,
I mean, I'm
Dan?
speaking posthumously because there's nothing you can do about it now.
I'm sure you've spent plenty of time preparing this statement.
This is going to be the first team that is barred from postseason play for a period of time based on performance, not based on recruiting violations or anything else. I think the problem is the coaches.
It's not Fran's fault.
They're these eggheads. Fran McCaffrey's got like a master's in economics.
What's wrong with that?
He's like plotting plays like quadratic equations. Look at that team. It's like a bunch of Ollies from Hoosiers.
I know. It's great. It's inspirational for some kids who don't think that they can make it to the college level.
I'm too short and I ain't no good. Equipment manager's my trade. You got to be able to speak to that kind of player. And I think Fran McCaffrey and to some extent Dr. Tom Davis prior to him.
Oh, I love Dr. Tom Davis.
This is
He
going
was
back
brilliant.
a ways
I know,
now,
but back in the late
know what his
80s,
you
early 90s, we made it to the Elite Eight.
You know what his PhD was in?
Dr. Tom's? No.
Because he's not a medical doctor.
Oh, of course. And
Yeah.
you always let us know if somebody's a doctor or a medical doctor.
Well,
or
I mean,
a PhD or a doctor.
people walking around, honestly, calling themselves doctor and they're not a medical doctor, it's a little ridiculous.
Why? They earned it. They wrote a dissertation, threw in some recipes in between chapters 7 and 8.
They wrote a paper. It's the same thing as going to med school.
No.
Dr. Tom Davis, Mike Scott probably knows this, being an almanac of college basketball and sports lore.
Hold on.
Dr. Tom Davis, was his PhD not in, Mike?
I don't know.
Wasn't it in botany?
Botany?
Yeah.
It was biology, wasn't it? It was a B
Botany,
word.
Biology.
I think
Sounds
it's
good
botany.
to me.
Yeah. But we'll look that up. We'll
Let's go to the magic box and see what the magic box
That's
says.
right.
But I'm telling you, I did learn about the players. Uthoff, if I hear one more time that he already graduated with an economics degree and is getting his master's in sports management. I mean, did you hear? They must have repeated that story 1,000 times because they had nothing else to talk
Well, they're
about.
vamping because Villanova, I believe at the time, was up 63-0.
Oh, and they're having tea? Yeah.
I mean, so it's like, here's some interesting factoids about players that you'll never see again.
How does your bracket look now? Now that we're down to the Sweet 16. And did you watch the Wisconsin game?
I watched all the games.
Hello? Every
Yeah.
single game? The winning shot?
Yeah. I mean, it was there. So,
Bronson is from Deerfield High School, local kid.
well, yeah. So there was actually good basketball yesterday.
Uh-huh.
It seems like I say this every year, but that's the best first weekend of basketball in the tournament I can remember.
Well, they said it had the most upsets ever, like 12 upsets, Cinderella
About the
stories.
most
Well, from the
upsets.
first round, they said there was the most ever. And that's how they're touting it on ABC News and blah, blah, blah.
But yeah,
Amy Jacobson, did you just say Jalen Brunson was from Deerfield High School?
I thought, no, Brunson Koning.
Oh,
Koning.
Brunson Koning.
Yeah,
Okay.
the
'Cause
shot
Brunson's
The
from
from
shot.
the shot.
Yeah.
Right.
shot.
I'm
Don't
thinking
get
the
me
guy
on that.
from
I know he's from Deerfield.
Stevenson. Jalen Brunson's
No.
from Stevenson at Villanova.
So we had Notre Dame. Notre Dame held off Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah, where's that school? Kidding. It's in Austin.
Yes. No, it's not in Austin.
Stephen F. Austin? Where's Stephen
No,
F. Austin?
Stephen F. Austin.
What's
the city?
Is it
it's the
start
oldest
with
city.
a C?
No, it's the oldest city in Texas.
Texas.
I'm blanking on it.
Hold on. Wait.
Don't know.
Stand by. I'll go to the magic box.
Yeah.
Oldest city.
And one of the
in
best
Texas.
players we've seen in the tournament that we didn't know his name coming in, Mr. Walkup, had an incredible first-round game at Stephen F. Austin.
The-
And a pretty
Nacho
good
Doches?
Nacogdoches.
Nacogdoches?
Yeah, Nacogdoches.
That's where SFA is from?
Yes,
Or
correct.
located?
Yes.
Okay.
Once you, do
My
you want to give
sister
us the
thought it was San Francisco.
You want to give us the history of Stephen F. Austin? I'm surprised that Stephen F. Austin was allowed to play in the tournament because Austin was a bit of a colonialist. He essentially settled Texas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I didn't know it was a
they'll also
D1
have to
school.
rename the
Good.
capital. The Lumberjacks, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Notre Dame. So Notre Dame held off.
Yes. What else do we have?
Well, SFA. Well, it's worth
Maryland.
noting because obviously that made great Catholics like Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi
Uh-huh.
and Barack Obama, Dick Durbin, very happy. Wanted to make note of that. It's great that Catholics like those folks could come together to celebrate a victory. By the way, Mike Bray, the coach of Notre Dame, did you see him? Did you see him with the scruff?
Yeah. You know what? I had to miss the SFA Notre Dame game. That's the one I missed. So no, I didn't see him with the scruff. What's going on there?
Well, he looked like a two-bit drug smuggler villain from a Miami Vice episode 30 years ago. Didn't he?
Straight out of Central Casting, was he?
He did.
He really did. By the way, here's another doppelganger. You know St. Joe's, the longtime coach of St. Joe's. That was the late game, St. Joe's, Oregon.
Right.
Oregon
Oregon
another
won.
great game.
Yeah, they're all good.
Phil
except for the
Martelli?
Iowa game. Yes.
Phil Martelli. Who does he look like? Phil Martelli, dead ringer for Peter Boyle from Everyone Loves Raymond.
Almost.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved him in Young Frankenstein. What other notes do I have on the
what else you
tournament? Oklahoma, Buddy Hield. Privileged to watch Buddy Hield. Another big win. They held off ECU. That was a great game.
Yep.
Northern Iowa, we already talked about the
Yeah.
collapse, the terrible Iowa teams.
We stop it. Iowa State's
Front
still
to
alive.
basketball. Dr. James Naismith spinning in his grave. Yeah,
gosh,
Iowa
you
State.
guys.
Iowa State. I'm not counting Iowa State as an
Who are
Iowa
they
team.
playing? Let me see. Why?
Iowa-
They're playing Virginia. Yeah, that's
they're-
not- that.
They're going to be in
That's
trouble.
not gonna go well.
I can't track down the doctorate of Dr. Tom Davis, but he did get it at the University of Maryland as an assistant. That much we do know.
I'm
looking at- I'm still
We'll have
looking.
to confirm that. I don't want to, misspeak when it comes to Dr. Tom Davis. If there's one topic I want to be right on,
It's that.
it's Dr. Tom Davis and his PhD. Also, ESPN getting into the enthusiasm of the weekend.
yeah.
Tweeting because yesterday Barack Obama landed in Cuba.
Yeah. I
President
saw.
Obama.
Yeah. Started raining when he arrived.
So the PC mopes at ESPN, and unfortunately, if people haven't taken judicial notice of this, sports is completely infected by political correctness, and ESPN is way left. ESPN is crazy, goofy, idiot left.
Or they mentioned Brock's bracket because it's busted up now because Michigan State lost in the first round.
Yeah, and by the way, you owe me a buck because
Oh, yeah.
I've got 12 of my Sweet 16 and 7 of my 8 Elite 8 still in, and you had Iowa winning it all, so you are done. So
There's the Iowa bracket and
Yeah.
then the realistic bracket
so
that I have at home.
scrape together
Yeah.
4 quarters
Okay.
between
yeah,
now
me
and
too. I'll
yeah.
find it.
All right.
I'll check the seat cushions in the lobby.
SportsCenter tweeted upon the arrival of President Obama to Cuba, "Savior or scourge, we can all agree Fidel Castro loves sport."
What in the world
Yeah.
is that? That's not even grammatically correct, is it?
That's not the problem.
But that's a ancillary issue. Yes.
Fidel Castro, let's all remember Fidel Castro fondly for his love of sport. That's the big takeaway for SportsCenter from a murderous dictator. So they immediately got a response. Your response is like, yeah, hey, why don't we give him an ESPY for courage? Which was great. And they took the tweet down, but just an affront.
What were they thinking? Was some intern in there just
They-
tweeting away?
PC-addled brains. Here's another one, just staying on the topic of sport.
Yes.
You're doing our little sports hunk. This is from Slate. Have you seen the 30 for 30 on the Duke lacrosse case yet?
You know what? I'm DVR'd it. I have not watched it in its entirety.
All right, so Duke,
Because I cannot wait to see this.
it's excellent. It is devastating.
Because when Duke played Yale, I was about to tweet out, and I wrote the tweet, but I couldn't press the trigger. How ironic that Yale and Duke are playing each other. False rape accusations for both schools.
Yeah.
And then I thought, you know what? I'm trying to lower my blood pressure right now, so I'm going to step away from that.
Well, this isn't going to help. This is from Slate.com. The author doesn't really matter because this is the opinion of Slate.com. It's the opinion of the whole outlet. So when you think of the left, think of this statement.
Okay.
This is their review
Of the rape?
of the
Or
ESPN
alleged
documentary
rape?
of the 30 for 30
okay.
on the Duke lacrosse case of the documentary. This is their review. Listen to this statement. It's a bizarre experience to watch a documentary that expects the viewer to root for a bunch of accused rapists.
Wow.
It's a bizarre experience for a documentary, to watch a documentary that expects the viewer to root for a bunch of accused rapists. Do you mean falsely accused rapists who
That's
were
what they-
exonerated? What is bizarre about that? Is it any more bizarre than watching stories or documentaries about
The 85 Bears?
No, I'm thinking more about like wrongly accused on death row, for example.
Oh, like Stephen Avery, Making of a Murderer.
Well, that's another example. Yeah, is that a bizarre experience to root for people who were falsely accused and had their lives destroyed by a pack of hyenas in the prosecutor's office in North Carolina, at Duke, with all the academicians who piled on, like ravenous wolves? And this is the mentality of the left. Remember,
They're still victimizing the guys who are wrongly accused with a statement like that. That's what's wrong.
They go on to say the underdogs who eke out a win in this sports flick are actually a bunch of wealthy white guys who ended up with multi-million-dollar settlements from Duke and jobs in investment banking.
That's not true.
Well, it is true, but that's not the point. They ended up with multi-million-dollar settlements because they were wrongly accused and they had their reputations and lives ruined. The fact that they went on to get jobs in investment banking is a tribute to their ability in investment banking, because that is a lot of baggage to be carrying to a job interview, that kind of profile.
That's when you beg the person, oh, don't Google me, please.
I mean, that's
sick.
This slate, I will
But don't they work for the Innocence Project as well, too? Or volunteer?
Some of them did. I will tweet this piece from Slate because you should share it liberally with your friends if you want real insight into the sick mind of the left, where even after exoneration, the accused, that's where I stop the analysis. I mean, unless the accusee is Bill Clinton, of course.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Today, partly sunny, a high of 48 degrees. And tomorrow looks great. It's going to be breezy, warmer, partial sunshine, a high of 60.
I have a quick question
degrees.
from Steve on 88.
Yes.
Maybe you can answer this. Did the Iowa basketball teams replace their players with wrestlers? That could explain it.
Let's get the travel times. Here's Jim Telemonte. Jim, you're an Iowa fan, right?
Sure, Amy. You know, my Butler Bulldogs went about as far as your
that's
Hawkeyes,
right.
so
Yeah.
maybe next year. Elmhurst, Amy, got a crash 83 at North Avenue. Looks like the intersection is open right now. Otherwise, things are pretty quiet. The expressways and tollways are fine. There was an earlier crash on the inbound Icon-Austin, blocking that ramp, and it's open now. So at the moment, no problems, issues, or delays, but things are getting a little heavier, so it'll change soon. I'm Jim Talamonte, Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
Hey Chicagoland, the construction season is just around the corner and we all need to start getting our ducks in a row. Of course, the economy isn't as robust as we'd like it. Big surprise there. And this year, you'll be asked to do more with less again. No need to worry though, Draft Tech has got your back. Whether it's piping, electrical, plumbing, or mechanical, we've got the experienced designers and drafters that can add value to any project. We've got the software, AutoCAD, Revit, SolidWorks, Inventor, and Plant 3D. We've got MEP and Navisworks to help guide you through the BIM waters. We've got 3D scanners that create a perfect model of your pre-project space so that you can say goodbye to project-killing ads and reworks. So whether you're a big company with more projects than people, or a small contractor trying to move up the food chain, Draft Tech has got you covered. Check us out at draftingresults.com. Draft Tech, cutting-edge technology, old-school service. That's Draft Tech, draftingresults.com.
Congratulations to all who took the Balance of Nature New Year's Challenge. Success stories are pouring in. So many people have been helped through this incentive that I have asked Balance of Nature to continue this challenge for as long as possible.
I do feel slightly better. I can't explain it. It's like underlying. I can't explain it. I broke my leg twice, my left leg, and it used to bother me, but now it's not bothering me that much. I mean, I also bowl on Friday nights, and it used to kill me, but now I find that I could do that and without being in any discomfort.
Good health is just a phone call away. What are you waiting for? Call now and take the health challenge to get a free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
Hey, protecting your family and Second Amendment rights is important. You need the proper equipment and training from DS Arms. As an actual manufacturer of AR-15 and FNFAL-type rifles, they also stock all major brands of firearms, including handguns and every accessory imaginable for self-defense, target shooting, and hunting. Ladies, get your concealed carry license plus basic and advanced training in a family-friendly environment with girlfriends, loved ones, even mom. Everything's provided, including a firearm for only $225 for custom rifles made in America or concealed carry firearms training classes. Make DS Arms your team. It's great being an American and supporting your Second Amendment rights and American manufacturing jobs. With nearly 3 decades of experience, DS Arms has you covered. DS Arms, much more than a gun store. It's easy to reach in Lake Barrington, just off of Route 14 and Pepper Road. Call 847-277-7260 or visit DSArms.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, one other sports note. Hat tip to my alma mater, Bennett Academy.
Oh, yes.
They upset Simeon in the state semifinals. Went to the 4A state championship game where they narrowly lost to Curie.
Oh, Curie High School.
Yeah. So runner-up was pretty good. I mean, it's better than Iowa.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
So I got that
better
going
than
for
Hersey
me,
High
which
School.
is nice. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
So
I keep watching that Bronson shot over and over again. It's so amazing because he had back-to-back three-pointers.
It's not as amazing as that Northern Iowa half-court shot in round one. There's a lot of those shots yesterday.
It's been a fun tournament so far.
It's been great. It gets our mind off things like this. Barack Obama becoming the first president since 1928 to visit the country of Cuba. Landed yesterday afternoon. Did not have time to skip over to Gitmo to see how the remaining prisoners are doing there.
Hey, guys, how's it going in there? Hey.
And on the occasion of his arrival, the Castro brothers issued a warning to dissidents. Authorities ordering dissidents invited to meet with President Obama to stay home instead, said a leading human rights activist on Saturday. As Elizardo Sanchez, a Cuban anti-government activist who chronicles political detentions month to month, said he and most of those invited plan to defy the government order because, of course, what's the worst that can happen? It's not like the Castro brothers are going to imprison you and torture you and murder you. They don't do that.
No,
at least
they
not
don't
as
do
long
that. They're
as
nice dictators.
Not as long as Obama's on terra firma there. So this should be fascinating to listen to how the president is thawing relations with a couple of bloodthirsty dictators.
And he's meeting with Raul Castro today. And then 100 CEOs came along to try and get business in Cuba.
Yeah, good for them.
They're going to unveil the latest iPad there in Cuba. They're big plans. We're going to take over Cuba. See, it's all about money, Dan.
I hope
we don't care about human rights. We just care about the American dollar, the almighty dollar, and getting, Marriott CEOs there, Starwood CEOs there. We're going to take over the hotels. We're going to redecorate them, get some granite countertops in there. It's going to be great.
This is also interesting. 93,000 Cubans have flooded across the border in the last 2 years, 26,000 in the past 6 months, and are mostly giving a pass to stay in the United States. Representative Henry Cuellar from Texas discussed this last week. He believes in immigration reform, but he wants to see law and order at the border, at least when it comes to Cubans. You know why that is.
Why?
Because they tend to vote Republican.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing, independently owned business bank. Signature Bank listens to your story, learns about your business, and sticks with their customers. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Brian Duncan, co-founder of Signature Bank. Born and raised in Chicagoland, my partners and I knew this city needed a locally owned business bank. As fellow entrepreneurs, we know the challenges facing businesses, and we are invested in our customers' success. We are here to build mutually beneficial, long-term, lasting relationships with our customers. We look forward to helping our customers reach their goals every day, and we are here to see them succeed. At Signature Bank, you work directly with decision makers who understand your business and can deliver on their promises.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. Learn more about turning your business vision into reality. Visit signature-bank.com. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Winter weather is here, and this season's roller coaster ride and temperatures can be especially taxing on your business's mechanical HVAC system. That's why it's important to schedule a comprehensive review of your system today with Air Comfort, Chicagoland's leading mechanical professionals. For more than 80 years, Air Comfort has maintained hundreds of businesses' HVAC systems throughout Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana. Why do they trust their mechanical systems to Air Comfort? It's simple. Because they understand that Air Comfort has the best trained and highly skilled team of award-winning technicians. That's why Air Comfort is recognized as an MSCA Star Contractor, a designation achieved by only 2% of contractors nationwide. With a large service fleet of more than 80 fully equipped vehicles, chances are that an Air Comfort technician is nearby. Schedule your system check by calling now, 708-345-1900, or online at aircomfort.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
More Trump unrest in Arizona. We'll have the details after we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Dan and Amy, good morning. 35 degrees. More U.S. troops are on their way to Iraq after an ISIS rocket killed a Marine and seriously wounded another U.S. flag personnel over the weekend. The Pentagon says the latest contingent will support Iraqi forces and international ground operations. An Indiana sheriff's deputy is dead, another wounded after a shooting on Sunday. In the Indianapolis Star reporting the two deputies were shot as they entered a mobile home to serve a warrant for a drug-related offense. Pennsylvania investigators say a retired state trooper is the suspect in an attempted armed robbery that left him and two others dead. Police say Clarence Briggs tried to rob a toll booth on the turnpike about an hour west of Harrisburg yesterday. A toll operator and an armed guard who was helping to collect money were killed. Most of the presidential candidates will address a leading pro-Israel group on Monday. Republican and Democrat frontrunners Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton will headline the annual AIPAC conference. Rabbi Rick Jacobs, with the Union for Reform, says he does not plan to stick around for the Trump speech.
As a way of saying that we are deeply, deeply uncomfortable and disturbed by the tone and content of this election. Dozens of rabbis plan to join Rick Jacobs in that boycott. President Obama and Cuban President Raul Castro will meet today on day 2 of the president's 3-day visit to the communist island.
It's been nearly 90 years since a U.S. president stepped foot in Cuba. It is wonderful to be here.
The president arrived in Havana yesterday with First Lady Michelle Obama and their daughters. A new, smaller iPhone is expected to be unleashed today. Apple sends out invites for its big event. It's scheduled on its campus in Cupertino, California. There's talk Apple will unveil a new iPad along with an update and new wristbands for the Apple Watch. An investigation is underway after an off-duty officer was shot on the far south side. Police say the shooting happened early this morning at 101st and Green. Chicago police continue to investigate the death of a 7-year-old boy who died after he accidentally shot himself on the south side. And Park Forest police posting an update on one of its officers who was critically hurt in a shooting on Saturday. Officer Tim Jones was shot 3 times in the jaw and neck and is hospitalized with life-threatening injuries. Cook County Medical Examiner's Office identifies the man accused of shooting the officer as 21-year-old Thurman Reynolds of Park Forest, who was killed when officers returned fire. Chicago sports, Wild over the Blackhawks 3-2 in a shootout. Women's college basketball tournament style, DePaul moves on with a win over Louisville 73-72. They'll play the winner of the St. Bonaventure-Oregon State game. Spring baseball, Cubs over Kansas City 5-2. White Sox beat Oakland 6-2. Jason Day goes wire to wire to win the Arnold Palmer at Bay Hill. The news, a service of the Foundation for a Better Life. Deaf and blind, Helen Keller overcame her world of darkness with foresight. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher does the math after many Super Tuesday.
Ted Cruz needs to win about 75% of the remaining votes in order to get the 1,237. Trump needs to get anywhere between 50 and 60% of the remaining votes, somewhere in that ballpark. It's mathematics. It's just math. And anything could happen.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas. Great coffee. Period.
Why do we take aspirin? Is it to treat our body's aspirin deficiency? Hi, this is Dr. John Chavez, chiropractor. Familiar with this, you probably know a chiropractor. If it seems strange to you, I'd love the chance to tell you why I have the greatest job in the world. I meet a chiropractor in St. Charles to remind you that although pain meds can be good for short-term relief, they don't treat the source of our pain. If you're people who come to me in pain and help them, sometimes giving them their lives back, no more pain meds, imminent surgery, or just missing out on life. Chiropractic is about using the non-chemical tools at our disposal to stay pain-free, healthy, and fit. If you'd like to know if chiropractic can do this for you, I'd love to talk. Find me at chirojon.com. That's chirojon.com. Or call my office, 630-715-9192. Call to see if I can help you, 715-9192.
536 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. On the inbound Eisenhower, the exit ramp to Austin has been closed again. There was an earlier crash. The ramp was open, but now it's been shut down again, according to Oak Park Police. Inbound I-57, traffic is stop and go. Fulmer Road to I-80, where a crash has the left lane blocked. Inbound Bishop Ford, got a 3-minute delay, 103rd to the Ryan. And the Ryan has delays starting around the Stevenson. 20 minutes, 95th to downtown. The traffic is heavy at O'Hare on westbound 190 between River Road and the terminal area at the airport. Traffic is a service of Unbound. When you sponsor through Unbound, you not only open the door to education for a young person, you empower a family to build a foundation of financial stability, empowerment, and respect. See your contribution grow into opportunity at unbound.org. Traffic answers when you need them most. Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center. 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. Partly sunny and 48 today. Cloudy and 40 overnight. We'll hit 62 tomorrow. But Wednesday, back in the cold. 44, breezy and cooler with rain. 33 right now at O'Hare. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Power Trading Radio. Heard Sundays at 2 p.m. Brought to you each week by Online Trading Academy.
If you're talking about it, I'll be talking about it. Dennis Prager here. Join me this morning at 11, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So 2 more primaries tomorrow, Utah and Arizona. Arizona closer than many had anticipated. Ted Cruz closing in. It's the Real Clear Politics average has it like 34-21 Trump. So Trump's still with a substantial lead. And you know he's not going to get less than 34%. That's probably locked in. But maybe Cruz stages a late rally to close the gap and narrow the number of delegates. In addition, that he'll fall behind. But he's obviously Cruz is up big in Utah, so it may be kind of a draw tomorrow night, more or less. But there was a lot of unrest, Trump-related unrest over the weekend in Arizona. There was this standoff in Fountain Hills, Arizona, in advance of a Trump event.
Right now, live pictures from Fountain Hills, Arizona. That is a suburb of Phoenix. You are looking at a highway that is heading to a Donald Trump event ahead of Tuesday's Republican primary in Arizona, and a number of protesters have shut down the highway en route to the event. Earlier, we saw a number of cars parked sideways on the highway. They brought in a tow truck to try and bring those cars out. And as we watch this picture over the past 10 minutes or so, there's even been some clashes and some skirmishes as what right now is a standoff in Arizona en route to a Donald Trump event.
And 3 people were arrested there. And then he went on to go to Tucson, Arizona. And they're at the Tucson Convention Center, when I'm sure everybody saw it this weekend. A white guy with an American flag draped around him. His name is Brian Sanders. He was escorted out, and while he was being escorted out, going up the stairs, a 32-year-old African-American male, Tom Petway, would have none of it. And he punched him and he kicked him. And Brian is finally speaking out and discussing what really happened.
Security. I had a sign that said "Bad for America," and it had Trump with the Confederate flag superimposed on his face. I was being escorted out of the building. I had that in my right hand, had a peace sign up. The guy grabbed the sign out of my right hand and then sucker punched me. And then he got on top of me and hit me a couple more times.
I mean, it's surprised he didn't have to go to the hospital. That guy looked like he was pouncing on him, didn't he?
Yeah,
I mean, then when he was down on the ground, too, he kicked him a few times just for good measure. And
wait, I thought that the Confederate flag is a symbol for hate, so that would be, I mean, according to the left, that would be an incitement to violence, wouldn't that be? I mean, if it was in a different context, wouldn't you have the left rallying to the defense of the African-American aggressor because of the incitement by the white guy with that hateful symbol of the Confederate flag? In addition to that, at that Tucson rally, you had people in fake KKK hoods.
Right, yeah,
and
that one
with,
woman I saw
with
her getting.
KKK signs that also generated a reaction. Again, this is what I don't understand.
Oh,
I mean, I understand that I don't agree with that. Obviously, there was no reason to hit anybody. But
hit him. He pulverized him. I mean, he took him down. And then that guy, the 32-year-old, was charged with misdemeanor assault. He was released right away.
Yeah,
has a court date tomorrow.
Yeah, you know, just friendly sparring.
But for Brian, he said it reminded him of the '60s.
All I can say, baby, is this is democracy. People that don't want us to be protesting, people that don't want us to be in their event, they should look deep inside themselves and see what they're supporting. This is what it brings. It's the '60s all over again. And getting punched in the face is no problem. Trump's not going to be in the White House. Come hell or high water. Not going to happen.
Okay,
he has a right to his opinion. I mean, you like how he called the female reporter baby. Hey, baby.
Right
this is what's going down, baby.
Yeah. He's tuning in. He's turning on. He's dropping out. I get it. So here's the issue, though. Corey Lewandowski.
Yeah, what is his problem?
Trump's campaign manager. He appeared to grab a protester by his collar at the same Tucson rally. The incident was captured on video. The individual was then taken out. But this is the second time Lewandowski's been involved in a alleged physical altercation. The previous time, which was to great acclaim, we didn't really spend much time on it here because it's a little bit of
inside baseball, maybe?
Yeah, a little bit.
But
I mean,
she filed charges against him, and that was a reporter from. Well, you tell the story.
It's Michelle Fields, formerly of Breitbart. She resigned, and Ben Shapiro resigned from Breitbart, which has become a house organ for Trump this cycle. And so there's all this back and forth, kind of infighting, snipping among conservatives.
But did you see that video? Because she was trying to talk to Trump, and Lewandowski grabbed her arm, and she had bruises on her forearm, and he pulled her away. I mean, you don't touch anybody, ever. Never touch anybody. You won't get in trouble if you keep your clothes on and you don't touch anybody, really.
Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome.
So here's the why.
So what's his deal?
Why is Corey Lewandowski in that situation? forget whether or not the context and he was justified or the guy pushed him first or whatever excuse you want to kind of manufacture to suggest why he responded the way he did by grabbing this guy at this rally in Tucson. Why is he's the campaign manager for the leading presidential candidate for the Republican nomination? Why is he in the crowd? Trump pays for security to be at these rallies and these events. Corey Lewandowski doesn't have any law enforcement experience, to my knowledge.
Well, no, he was a new, he was a New Hampshire state trooper for a year.
Okay, well that's
fine. Still, but that was a long time ago. That was in another life.
And even still, even if he would have been a career law enforcement officer, he's the campaign manager.
He's like a thug out there, though. He reminded me, it was thuggery. Just grabbing some guy for no reason. And
the question I have, I mean, again, the facts of the Michelle Fields case, the facts of this case in Tucson are secondary to me. Why is he there in the first place? Why is he in that position? He campaign manager behind the scenes, campaign manager not doing crowd control. At almost any level, much less the presidential level, it is bizarre to me.
Do you think Donald Trump should fire him? 312-642-5600. Instead, of course, Donald Trump defended him when he was on with George Stephanopoulos.
Why is your campaign manager out in the crowd engaging protesters? This is the second incident.
Well, you know what? Because the security at the arena, the police were a little bit lax, and he had signs. They had signs up in that area that were horrendous, that I cannot say what they said on the sign, but the ultimate word, and it was all over the camera, and frankly, the television cameras can't take it, and they can't do anything about it, and I will give him credit. Spirit. Now, he didn't touch. He wasn't.
Well, the video does show that he touched him. Your private security pulled him, but it does show he grabbed the top.
I mean, I give him credit for having spirit. He wanted them to take down those horrible profanity-laced signs.
He has spirit. Yes, he does.
We've got spirit. How about you?
Trump obviously is okay with it, so that's why it's difficult to say that Trump should fire him because he's sanctioned it. But I just don't understand why he's in that position. If, as Trump says, there are signs and the police are lax to respond, then you know what you do as a campaign manager or as a staffer? You go to those police officers or the security detail and you say, hey, those people need to go.
Yeah.
That's simple.
You don't take it up in your own hands.
It's just bizarre. It just is bizarre.
But that's part
to
of the
me.
whole campaign is just a little bit different. But Reince Priebus came forward and he said, hey, law enforcement, not campaign managers, should be dealing with members in the audience, whether protesters or supporters. Hands off.
Randy in Milwaukee, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, good morning. You know what? I just want to point to the fact I'm getting really frustrated in that all I ever hear about is about Romney, the Republican establishment, when the reality is, there's some of us out here that actually have legitimate concerns about Donald Trump's candidacy, and I don't hear either from Trump or his supporters addressing those reasons. For example, I was a Wisconsin state employee who actually was for Walker's reforms, and I came into this primary race open-minded, not for or against anyone. And in the very beginning, it was Trump who absolutely stole a liberal talking point lie in going after Walker and saying that we had a $2 billion deficit. That was an absolute lie. And ever since then, I've heard lie after lie after lie. And things that truly raise concerns, for example, calling a hero, a military hero, saying that I guess he wasn't a hero because he got caught, or the lie against Bush, and he continues to lie about these things. He says he's not for special interests, but when he goes to Iowa, not only is he for ethanol mandates and subsidies, he wants to continue those things. Those are the things I'm concerned about. There's people out here that have legitimate concerns, and I'd like to see Trump supporters and Trump himself address those things rather than Republican establishment and Romney.
Thanks for the call, Randy. Fair points across the board. Tom in Schaumburg, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
And none of those things mean nearly as much as our sovereignty, and Trump is the only one in favor of that. Incidentally, grabbing a protester from the back, the man hardly touched him. Your children, when they were toddlers, tugged on the back of your coat harder than the campaign manager.
Why is he there, Tom? Why is
You're
he
right.
there?
You're absolutely right about that. He should be there. But the whole idea of this complaining about the campaign manager is to try to get Trump to knock him off the bat or knock him out of the way and put somebody else in there so the media can control the narrative. Here we got people who are protesting who think they have a right to come into Trump's venue and protest. Do they have the same right to do the same thing at Home Depot? Because Home Depot paid for that store. Home Depot paid for everything in it. Do these protesters have the same right to dress up like clowns and start screaming filthy, vile things in the Home Depot like they're doing in the Trump venue? I don't think so.
Thanks for the call, Tom.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Today, partly sunny skies, a high of 48 degrees. And tomorrow, it's going to be real warm around here, a high in the low 60s. And we'll have breezy conditions and mostly sunny skies. Any sunshine on the roadways? Here's Jim Telemonte.
It's getting heavier. Amy and Dan, good morning. On 190 at O'Hare, it's slow now from River Road to the terminal area at the airport. The main lanes of the Kennedy are still good. The Edens is clear. In Mount Eisenhower, slow Harlem to Austin, where police have again blocked the off-ramp to Austin. From the inbound Ike, there's a crash just off the expressway on Austin. Down Stevenson, it's now a 2-minute delay, Harlem to Pulaski. The Ryan has a 5-minute delay. The Stevenson to downtown. Northbound I-57, stop and go, Volmer Road to I-80 with a crash in the left lane. Bishop Ford, you've got a 3-minute delay from 103rd to the Ryan. Jim Talamonte, the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
Hi there, it's me, Lou Manfredini. When I give home improvement advice, I take it seriously because it affects the value of your home. So I only recommend quality products. To replace drafty old windows and patio doors that stick, there's Marvin Windows and Doors. They're built around you. You know, every Marvin window and door is made to order using the finest materials and craftsmanship. There's value in that. Get more styles and options. Increase your home's curb appeal. Bring the outdoors in. And Marvin Windows and Doors are energy efficient to help lower your heating and cooling bills. In fact, they have over 150,000 window and door products that are Energy Star certified. For serious advice on how Marvin Windows and Doors can work for your remodeling or replacement project, contact your local Marvin retailer.
Midwest Siding at 847-979-8230 for quality Marvin Windows and Doors. Or visit them online at MidwestSiding.com. Call them about your project today. 847-979-8230.
The only significant, among all the vitamins I changed, nothing affected cholesterol. I took this and my cholesterol dropped by 15 or 20%.
Yeah, with the acid reflux, and I have GERD and gastritis, and it really seems to be helping a lot, and my husband too. I mean, we're very happy with the product, I got to say it. It's been great, and we've seen dramatic results, so I can't say anything bad about it. We've really been happy with the product. We've been amazed with it.
There is a value in it because it has fruits and veggies, and I'm not a fruit and veggies eater, and I know this is helpful.
Good health is just a phone call away. What are you waiting for? Call now and take the health challenge to get a free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
I'm Dan Proft with an Upstream idea brought to you by the Illinois Policy Institute. 27. Illinois state employees, on average, receive total compensation 27% higher than their private sector counterparts. State employees made nearly $4,000 more in wages and $13,000 in benefits than private sector employees. More than half of state workers will retire before the age of 60 with a guaranteed state pension. The state is in a financial death spiral with ground impact imminent. So keep this in mind as Governor Bruce Rauner breaks off contract talks with AFSCME, the state's largest public sector union. AFSCME has been unwilling to give on its demands for annual step increases of 3.8%, in addition to annual general wage increases. The lowball estimate of the cost of what AFSCME demands is $1.6 billion. That's $1.6 billion more from Illinois families who already pay the highest property taxes in the nation. This is Governor Rauner's moment of truth. He ran for office saying he is not a politician. He said he is a businessman who will make the difficult decisions to turn around the state he loves. We're about to find out if that's true. For more Upstream ideas, visit upstream-ideas.com. I'm Dan Proft.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, so Donald Trump not the only one campaigning in Arizona. Ted Cruz is, of course, as well. He's got a county sheriff supporting him. That's Cochise County Sheriff Mark Daniels, along with former Texas Governor Rick Perry. They were at the border where Cruz said, my 5-year-old daughter could have climbed over or under that fence in about 20 seconds. This is indicative of a federal government that is not doing its job, that is not even trying to do its job. So in terms of kind of interest in our sovereignty, I know there's a lot of Trump supporters that believe Trump is the only one who's interested in border security. I think Ted Cruz has made a pretty strong case he is as well.
Oh, he is as well. And did you see Bernie on the border on Saturday? He went down there and he met with a family of immigrants and talked to them about their issues and then said, come on over. And people came.
Oh, yeah. We'll be teeing up Bernie Sanders for our friend Sheriff Joe Arpaio at the top of the 8 a.m. hour because Bernie had some choice words for Sheriff Joe.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Life's full of unknowns, some unpleasant, like an unexpected accident or work injury that can happen to any of us. When the unexpected happens, you need an experienced and capable law firm that excels in personal injury and workers' compensation and can garner you an excellent settlement. With a combined 75 years experience, Feed the Children business benefactor Stordo, Finn, and Rosinski share your values and take pride in their friendly, professional approach. Personal injury and workers' compensation matters can take a toll on you. That's why Stordo, Finn, and Rosinski strive to treat clients like family and provide a quick response to your questions. You'll always speak with an attorney. Call Stordo, Finn, and Rosinski, the People's Lawyer, for your free initial consultation at 630-860-5520 or visit peopleslawyer.info. That's 630-860-5520 or online at peopleslawyer.info.
If medications haven't helped you treat your depression, why haven't you tried TMS therapy offered by Thuramind? Let me try that again. Thuramind. Now there's a way to successfully treat your depression without the need for meds and their harmful side effects. TMS therapy is covered by most insurance, including Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois and Medicare. So don't continue to suffer needlessly. Call now 847-562-5868. That's 847-562-5868. Thuramind is the best. It is the single greatest advancement to date in treating depression in TMS, and it's FDA-cleared, non-drug, safe and effective treatment. TMS has already changed the lives of over 50,000 patients. Why not you? Visit them right now at TMSMIND. That's TMSMIND.com or call 847-562-5868. That's 847-562-5868 or tmsmind.com.
Control, this is QL1. Side hatch is secure.
QL1, this is Control. We copy, showing normal cabin pressure. Over.
Control, this is QL1. Do you like mortgages?
That's a negative, QL1. Over.
Control, do you like rockets?
That's affirmative, QL1. Over.
Do you like rocket mortgages?
I'm listening. Over.
Of course you are, Control. Everyone likes rockets. Control, Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans is the first on-demand mortgage machine that turns the entire mortgage process into a fast, powerful, completely online experience.
Copy that, QL1. I'm going to go ahead and push this button in. 3, 2, 1.
Rocket Mortgage at QuickenLoans.com. Push button, get mortgage.
Rocket.
Visit for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
CertaPro painters are here for every stage of your life, from moving into a new home, creating the ideal nursery, to reinventing your living space. CertaPro painting experts create the perfect setting while you do life. They came to our home and brightened our walls and our moods so very quiet they wouldn't wake a baby. But the best part? They clean up after themselves so you don't have to do it. And now that spring is here, it is the perfect time to spruce up your home's exterior. Take a look at your home. Do you see chipping, peeling, fading? Well, leave it to CertaPro painting experts to refresh, renew, and protect your biggest investment, your home. Now is the time to call for your free estimate and schedule your exterior painting project. 1-800-GO-CERTA, 1-800-GOCERTA. That's CERTA with a C. Or visit CertaPro.com today, CertaPro.com. CertaPro Painters, we do painting, you do life. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The Beltway's last stand in Wisconsin, that is. Will it be their Little Bighorn at 6:06?
And a man tries to sing his way to freedom. You'll hear it. But first, let's go into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, a 7-year-old dies in an accidental shooting in the city of Chicago. An investigation continues after a man was shot by an off-duty police officer who was attacked on the northwest side. Plans for a new trail coming together in the city of Chicago, and the Wild clipped the Blackhawks in a shootout. A partly sunny day ahead. WIND Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
Fox News Radio. I'm Dave Anthony. President Obama's in Cuba. Cheered last night as he and the first family walked through Old Havana in the rain, though some 50 protesters were arrested demonstrating before his arrival.
The first stop on the president's 2.5-day visit to Cuba was to the U.S. Embassy, where he thanked embassy staff for their work in helping to normalize relations between the U.S. and Cuba.
This is a historic visit, and it's a historic opportunity to engage directly with the Cuban people.
The president will meet today one-on-one with Cuban President Raul Castro, where he's expected to press Castro to bring more political reform to the Cuban people. The Castro government arrested a number of political dissidents in the days preceding the president's visit. Traveling with the president in Havana, John Decker, Fox News.
Donald Trump says President Obama was snubbed when he arrived.
Raul Castro, who's the head of Cuba, wasn't there to greet him.
Trump called it amateur hour and that the president should have turned Air Force One around and left. Now, Trump and his Republican presidential rivals, Ted Cruz and John Kasich, will address a pro-Israel AIPAC conference today.
Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton will address the conference, but her Democratic rival, Senator Bernie Sanders, will not, citing campaign travel for missing the event. Sanders is the only Jewish candidate in the field.
Fox's Jared Halpern. South Korea is trying to figure out if North Korea fired missiles, artillery, or rockets into the sea today, reporting 5 projectiles were launched. The North is angry over American and South Korean joint military exercises. An attempted robbery leaves a Pennsylvania Turnpike toll collector dead and a security guard.
The actor displayed a handgun and ordered both employees to enter the Turnpike office building.
State Police Captain David Kane says that suspect was a retired state trooper, and he shot the two in a struggle. Then Clarence Briggs was killed in a shootout with troopers who arrived. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
This morning we have clear skies in Chicago, 34 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. An investigation is underway after an off-duty officer was shot on the far south side. Police say the shooting happened early this morning near 101st and Green. Chicago police say a 7-year-old boy died after he accidentally shot himself on the south side. The shooting happened yesterday in a home near Aberdeen and Marquette Road. The child suffering a gunshot wound to the head and was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. An investigation continues after a man was shot by an off-duty police officer on the northwest side. Authorities say the officer was patting down a suspect Saturday night when another man began hitting him with a bat. Multiple shots were fired at the suspect, who was hospitalized in critical condition. A man is being held on $1 million bond after his young stepson was burned to death in south suburban Calumet City. Gregory Miles has been charged with first-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, and child endangerment. Authorities say Miles used scalding water to give 1-year-old Noah Rutter a bath last Thursday. 4 more people are under arrest following a deadly home invasion in Galesburg. It happened last week as 19-year-old Dakota Tinkham was found dead in his home. Authorities say he was shot and killed in a robbery gone bad. Police over the weekend did not release a motive, but do say the home was not a random target. Chicago sports, Minnesota beat the Blackhawks 3-2 in a shootout. Women's college tournament basketball, DePaula winner over Louisville 73-72. Spring baseball, Cubs over Kansas City. White Sox beat Oakland behind 2 home runs from Jerry Sands 6-2. Texas A&M into the Sweet 16 after an improbable double overtime win over Northern Iowa. And it was a tip-in by Notre Dame for a win over Stephen F. Austin 76-75. Wisconsin, a buzzer-beating win over Xavier 66-63. The news, a service of Business Outfitters by Land's End. Well, there's an old saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. It's true. Land's End makes it easier than ever to look your best and outfit your entire team. So you always make a great impression. Business Outfitters by Land's End. They supply confidence. Shop now at business.landsend.com. 6:04 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Republicans ask, what works, what doesn't work. Republicans appeal to your head.
The Joe Walsh Show.
But what do Democrats say? Let everybody in. Let everybody come to America. Don't build walls. Tear down walls. It's why we're in the problem we're in. Republicans cannot make freedom and individual responsibility important.
The Joe Walsh Show. Weeknights starting at 5. Right after Sean Hannity at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
In my line of work, I'm trying to make a difference. Not $1 billion, but I do want to be able to save for the future. So this year I partnered with TIAA to help me map out what I should be doing. Together, we came up with a personalized plan for my finances. And now it seems like a life of rewarding work just might pay off for a lifetime.
See how we're helping those who do good do well at the new TIAA.org. TIAA, created to serve, built to perform.
This is an announcement for all people who want to take a risk-free challenge to whiten their teeth in 5 minutes using clinically proven power swabs. This risk-free challenge is for people whose smile has been yellowed by coffee, tea, or smoking. It's so effective, we challenge you to try it for 5 minutes to see how white your smile could be. If lines are busy, try again. Dial 1-800-663-1592. That's 1-800-663-1592. 1-800-663-1592.
6:06 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Let's get the latest now with Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. On the inbound Eisenhower, traffic is stop and go from Manheim to Austin, where the exit ramp is blocked. There's a crash on Austin just south of the expressway. The travel time from Thorndale to downtown is 38 minutes. Outbound still fine at 29. Edens is clear. Kennedy inbound 21 minutes. O'Hare to downtown outbound 25. Delays are from Austin to Sayre. Westbound 190 has heavy traffic from River Road to the terminal area at the airport. Stevenson 38 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. To Ryan 21 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57 has delays from US 30 to I-80. There's a crash which has the left lane blocked. Bishop Ford, about a 3-minute delay approaching the merge. Eastbound Adams Tollway, till 53 to Arlington Heights Road. Traffic is a service of Boys and Girls Club of America. It's 3 p.m. School's out for America's kids, and when school's out, clubs are in. Time to support the Boys and Girls Clubs. Visit greatfutures.org. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte. AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center. Let's get the latest with our meteorologist, Kevin Snyder.
Today, partly sunny, high 49. Tonight, mostly cloudy, low 40. Breezy and warmer tomorrow with partial sunshine, high 61. Cloudy at night with a passing late night shower or two, low tomorrow night 41. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
33 at O'Hare, 37 along Chicago's lakefront. Next news coming up at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Draft Tech Engineers and Contractors. Check out their 3D scanning for your project. Draft Tech, draftingresults.com.
Good morning. Welcome to your Monday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
So let's set the tone for everybody at home. How many of you have a positive impression of Donald Trump? Raise your hands. None of you. How many of you have a positive impression of Hillary Clinton? Raise your hands. None of you.
Why is your campaign manager out in the crowd engaging protesters? This is the second incident.
Well, you know what?
in
Because
about a
the
month.
security at the arena, the police were a little bit lax.
Donald is in a difficult position because in a two-man race, he has a very hard time breaking 50%. So our path forward is to win primaries going forward.
Everybody's got to face the fact that we're going to an open, multi-ballot convention. That's where we're headed. And the convention is an extension of what we're going through right now.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, and
You have a basketball hangover, don't you?
well, we're today mourning the passing of the Iowa basketball program. We'll keep you updated. We expect Iowa to announce later this morning that they're disbanding the men's basketball program
great.
after
They're
after yesterday's performance.
They're going to sanction themselves, just take a few seasons off from the NCAA March Madness tournament?
No,
okay.
a self-imposed death penalty.
Oh,
is what I
really?
expect.
That's what you want?
So
It was a bad game.
Your favorite memories of Iowa basketball, perhaps a Brad Lowhouse rebound.
Oh, yeah.
Roy Marble spin move from the post. a
Three-point
B.J.
shot
Armstrong
from Jeff Moe.
Oh, yeah, well,
Oh.
that's your favorite memory. Yeah, so feel free to opine with
I
those.
thought that they retired Jeff Moe's number, and then I saw Utah wearing it so proudly.
Yeah, boy. Memories.
Memory. I have my jacket in the car. I was going to bring
At
it
the
in, but
corners
I
of
thought-
your mind. Just the watercolor
thought
memories
better.
of Jeff Moe and the way you guys were.
I love you, Jeff.
All right, on to matters political. 'Cause
Oh, yes.
that's kind of what we do here. Even
Oh,
though I'd
we
love
do.
to, I'd love to talk March Madness.
All right, well, who's your favorite team? Who do you think is going to win it all?
I have North Carolina beating Oklahoma in the final.
Okay.
Yeah, 7 of my 8 Elite Eights
Okay,
remain
bragger.
standing. 12 of my 16 Sweet 16. I actually had
You have 12 in the Sweet 16?
Yeah, it's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. I actually had a Twitter exchange over the weekend with Jay Billis. It was
You
kinda fun.
did?
Yeah. it was
Oh, what
kinda fun.
happened? Tell me.
Well, I made note that I had after round 1, I was 26 of 32, and I only had lost 3 Sweet 16 teams. He had lost 5, and he's the best college basketball analyst going. And so I tweeted, and he replied back, "Well, the only thing that matters is keeping your Elite 8 teams." I said, "Yeah, I know that, and I've got my Elite 8 teams too. Can you let me have my moment, Billis?" This guy's brutal. No, it was fun. That's cool.
Oh, cool.
So New York Times story over the weekend. Republican leaders map a strategy to derail Donald Trump. Yep, they got another one. They've hatched another
here we
plan.
go.
This is like a episode of a bad sitcom. What are those rascals up to next? Club for Growth and others that have spent millions on ads trying to undermine Trump are not giving up quite yet. There's another name being mentioned as a possible third-party independent conservative candidate, former Oklahoma Senator Tom Coburn, who I like a lot, but I mean, this is ridiculous. There's no chance. But more to the point, Republican leaders map a strategy to derail Donald Trump. This is on the cusp of April. This is after 60% of the states have weighed in on the presidential election. And here these guys are. These are the same people who for the last 6 months told us per Karl Rove's whiteboard on Fox News Channel that he's peaked. He's underperforming his RCP average. It's the beginning.
I love the RCP average.
The beginning of the end prognostications. I mean, how many millions of those have we heard from June of last year to present? I mean, I stopped mine at Labor Day.
Right.
So I got the
I thought it'd be
whiff
over
of a movement.
I thought it'd be over once he made that comment about John McCain not being a true hero because he got caught. That's when I thought, okay, that is it. He's done now. And no.
Now,
that helped him.
These
Didn't
are
hurt him.
many of the same leaders, by the way, here, mapping the strategy to derail Trump. And supposedly they're Maginot Line is drawn through Madison, Wisconsin. April 5th primary in Wisconsin is where they need to stop Trump if they're going to stop him at all. They need to prevent him from winning Wisconsin. I haven't seen recent polling in Wisconsin. I know he was up about a month ago, but that was obviously Rubio still in the race, so that doesn't tell you a lot. But I suspect he's still up like he is everywhere else, 10, 15 points.
Well, it's 42 delegates up for grab in Wisconsin, and it's not a winner-take-all state.
And so the same people that are hatching this plan are the people who are trying to create an air of inevitability around Marco Rubio's third-place finishes for the better part of 3 months. These are the same people who couldn't make their decision when it became clear this was going to be Ted Cruz or Donald Trump, that Ted Cruz was the only candidate that could stop Donald Trump. These are the same people now telling us they've got yet another plan. I'll tell you what, I find Donald Trump loathsome, but I don't find him any more loathsome than the imperious tone deafness and stunning incompetence of the leading lights of the GOP's Beltway ruling class and the Beltway/Fox News conservative punditocracy. I really don't. I mean, there are many still in this grouping with millions of dollars spent and millions more to spend that really still don't recognize there's a movement afoot. They really still think this is about Trump and not about the larger universe that is using Trump as their vessel. It is just baffling to me how little they understand about what is happening and about the political climate with people who have been in this arena for decades and decades and decades. Maybe that's why they're just so removed from what's happening on the ground that they don't understand it.
Well, are those the same Republicans who are meeting with Donald Trump today? He's meeting with 12 GOP party leaders before speaking at AIPAC.
No, this is not the conservative grassroots leaders and the super PACs that have been running ads for him. It's not these people he's meeting with. No, but I just these plotters, they're feeding the movement. The more
that they discuss it,
well, the more there are more there are New York Times stories like this,
well,
and that are just then discussed on talk radio programs like this. I mean, I'd like to have this discussion between Trump supporters and non-supporters alike. So that means all of us. Who bears responsibility for degrading American culture to such a point that we could have two corrupt pathological liars as our nominees, as the choice that we must select from? I mean, the idea that's just happened since Trump got in 8 months ago, or since Hillary was presented as the next in line for the presidency by the Democrat Beltway types. How do we get here? This is where you could have people challenge other people to say, what have we done to allow this greatest country the world has ever seen to be pushed down the path of ruination by the Beltway elites in both parties? What have I done? Or not done?
And if you think just we're talking about it, the world is talking about it. My best friend moved to Holland, the Netherlands, and she said everyone's scared of Donald Trump. She said it is unbelievable. They're afraid about the value of the dollar decreasing if he's elected president and how he'll get along with our allies and other NATO leaders. Yeah. They're scared. People around the world, they're laughing at us because of Donald Trump.
I don't care what people around the world are laughing at. People around the world have all of their own problems. The whole world community. What's the world community? What's the community between Finland and Cuba? This all of this international world community blather. You know what? That is so much. That's the same kind of institutional rhetoric that people are rejecting. This is how you get the degradation. I'm so concerned about what sub-Saharan dictators or European socialists think about us. I could care less. I care about this country and what's happening internally. And how do we get to this place where you have the two most unlikable people in the country as the major party nominees? As I said, corrupt, proven, pathological liars as the party nominees. Because that's where we're at. Who's responsible? How does this come to pass? Guess what? This is the time for a mirror test, because me and every other American has allowed this to occur. I understand the lament and the grievance that, okay, you know, we gave Republicans a chance in 10 when we turned over the House to Obama, after so many Trump supporters right now turned over the White House to Obama. Let's be real honest, Trump supporters and supporters of other candidates. It wasn't just George Will and Charles Krauthammer that got shanghaied by Obama. A lot of Republicans, a lot of smart Republicans who supported Obama, too. So do you bear responsibility? And, I mean, go all the way back. Go back, think about your lifetime and what you have contributed or not contributed to maintaining the tensile strength of the American fabric versus fraying it. I mean, this idea that this all of this is, you know, I'm going to punish a handful of ruling class elites in D.C. who haven't exhibited as much courage as they should. Fine, they deserve to be punished. What about you? Have you always exhibited the kind of moral clarity and courage that was required within your circles of influence? I mean, remember, politicians, for the most part, with very few exceptions, they form at the back of the parade. They're not leading any parade. They want to see which way the zeitgeist is moving, and then they go in that direction because they're interested in election and re-election. But who's leading the parade? And who have we all allowed to lead the parade, such that this is where politicians decided to follow? I mean, any critical self-reflection by Trump supporters and non-supporters alike, I'd love to hear it. By the way, some interesting pieces, Washington Post, how Trump and Clinton could reshape the electoral map. I mean, this is going to be a wild general election because you have Trump with the possibility to legitimately play in states like Michigan, maybe Pennsylvania, where Republicans really haven't played in a long time. The flip side, there's a poll in Utah out that Hillary Clinton is up 2 points on Trump in Utah. Utah. I mean, it's only 6 electoral votes, but the point in the general, but the point is, I mean, the idea that Utah would be in play because there was such antipathy for Donald Trump is just a frightful coming to be. Here's another question too, because this goes back to the Obama reference I was making before. You smart white Republicans, you know, with your college degrees and your advanced degrees, and you're making a lot of money, that you thought President Obama was, you know, your kind of Democrat. You could stomach President Obama because he spoke with proper syntax, so he must be smart and he must be a good leader. You going to go down that road again? You going to vote for Hillary? You find Trump repulsive, loathsome, as do I? You going to vote for Hillary? What are you going to do?
Because I know some Republicans are going to vote for Hillary.
Yeah. Well,
because they cannot force themselves to vote for Donald Trump.
I want to hear the arguments because here's the, you know, trying to figure this out. Is Trump is going to have broad appeal and support from a lot of kind of tradesmen, the old Reagan Democrats, just to use a label to kind of make the point. But what about some of those in the lofty areas of society that maybe lean center-right, that would vote for John Kasich, but also have voted for Democrats before, like Obama, and would do so again? Be interested to hear what where they're at right now, where you're at right now, what the thinking is, and we'll hear from you right after this.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Your phone calls coming up. 312-642-5600 is the number. Here are the numbers in the weather department today. A high of 48 degrees. It is 31 degrees right now at O'Hare. And then tomorrow, breezy, much warmer, partial sunshine, a high of 62. Anything good on the roadways? Here's Jim Talamonte with the answer.
Well, Amy and Dan, good morning. It's good on the Edens for now. Inbound traffic's a little congested approaching the junction, so you're likely to tap the brakes, but not for too long. The outbound side is wide open. Kennedy inbound. 27 minutes, O'Hare to downtown. Outbound 30. Delays are from Lawrence to Cumberland, and it's heavy on westbound 190 from River Road to the terminal area at O'Hare. Inbound Eisenhower, it's tied up from Wolf to Austin, where the exit ramp has reopened after an earlier crash and investigation. But it's 53 minutes, Thorndale to downtown, 40 from Manheim, outbound 30 minutes to Thorndale. Stevenson, 40 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. The Ryan, 21 minutes, 95th to downtown. Northbound I-57 is jammed, Volmer Road to I-80 with a crash in the left lane. Eastbound Adams Tollway, we see slow pockets from 59 to 53 and Elmhurst Road to 280. I'm Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
My name is David Hochberg, and I'm Vice President of Lending at Pearl Mortgage. That's right, I'm now Vice President of Lending at Pearl Mortgage. If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, give me a call. I'm the same guy that's provided listeners with honest advice and outstanding customer service for the past 13 years. The only thing that's changed is where I work. When you want to refinance and pay off debt, you called me and I helped you. When your kids were purchasing their first home and you wanted to make sure they were working with a trustworthy lender, you called me and I helped them. If you would like to talk to me about a mortgage, please give me a call at 312-751-1333. That's 312-751-1333. Email me at david@pearldavid.com. That's david@PERLDavid.com. Or visit my website, am560david.com. 312-751-1333. Pearl Mortgage is an equal housing lender, Illinois residential mortgage licensee, 4358, licensed by DBO under California RMLA and MLS 19186. PearlMortgage.com licensing.
If you or someone you know is addicted to drugs or alcohol, this could be the most important message of your life. Write down this number or store it in your cell phone. But call 1-800-426-6186. That's 1-800-426-6186. By calling the treatment helpline for drug and alcohol addiction, you can turn your life around. Our advisors will match you with a proven 5-star luxury treatment center that will end your drug or alcohol addiction once and for all. Your future can still be bright. When you call right now, you'll speak to a recovering addict who understands what you're going through. Let us help you break your addiction to drug or alcohol before it's too late. This call is completely confidential, and if you have private insurance, there should be no cost to you. Take 5 minutes of your time and call right now. It may change your life for the better. Call 1-800-426-6186. That's 1-800-426-6186. Call 1-800-426-6186.
The following is a paid political announcement.
When did Republicans lose their backbone, their guts, their conviction? Some will say they stood up to Obama. That's easy. But who stood up to their own party? That's Marlin Stutzman. Marlin said no to the establishment by voting against John Boehner. And he fought sweetheart deals on both sides by voting against the omnibus. Because politicians refuse to get it done, Marlin authored the only conservative budget that actually balances. And to keep the Washington crowd from getting cozy, Marlin is fighting for term limits to toss the career politicians out. It's not good enough to just vote for candidates who say they're conservative. We need leaders who have the guts to act like one. Marlin knows when Republicans bend, America breaks. Stand strong, Marlin. Conservative Marlin Stutzman for Senate.
I'm Marlin Stutzman, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Stutzman for Senate.
You want more than just the headlines? Find out what's going on and what it means with me, Dennis Prager, this morning at 11, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, all right, let's take some calls.
We have a little bit of breaking news.
Trump and Hillary.
Guess who's just decided to support and endorse Donald Trump?
Who's that?
The Fonz's cousin, Chachi.
Scott Baio.
Scott Baio, yes. He's from Happy Days, and Charles in charge has decided to support Donald Trump.
Well,
I just wanted to let you know first, Dan.
What about Erin Moran, Joni? What's she doing?
I don't know about Joni, but I'll get back to you later. Let you know. Is she still alive, by the way?
Okay, Erin Moran, sure. Yeah. No, Tom Bosley.
Oh, yeah. He may rest in peace. Moment of silence, please.
I'm glad he's not around to see what Chachi's done. Joe in Schaumburg, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Dan, when you said what caused this, I thought, oh, my God, you must be kidding. Because what caused this, Dan, as you well know, you've been talking about it for years. It's the Republicans that we voted into the Senate and the House that did nothing, that made lots of promises to us, and that lied. And, hey, I love Ted Cruz. He's a great guy. He's very principled. But Ted Cruz is like the salesman that you have employed in your business that hasn't sold a thing for 6 years. And in his political life, he couldn't convince a dog to chase a cat. I mean, I like the guy, but he can't get the job done. So why you can't come to that reality is beyond me. And do I agree with Trump on everything? No. nobody I talk to agrees with Trump on everything. But the 70% I do agree with him on is, oh, my God, the main priorities that we need to get done in this country.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for the call, Joe. Pete in Elk Grove.
Morning, guys.
Hey.
So I voted for Kasich in 99, and the biggest mistake I ever made. And to answer your question, how do we get here? It's the baby boomers. They produced the least number of leadership people ever. I mean, how many Dick Winters came out of the Vietnam War in the 60s and the hippies?
Thanks for the call, Pete. Barbara in Wilmette.
Oh, hi. We got here because I'm just going to use Mark Kirk as an example. He votes against everything. He's voted with Obama on everything, and people are still voting him in. I mean, look at the condition of this state. And they keep doing it. We're tired of it. We sent up people to fight Obama, and they're with him, and that's why we're so tired of this.
Thanks for the call,
Barbara.
Barbara.
And you know about Mark Kirk, what he did Friday, announcing that he wants a Senate hearing on Merrick Garland's appointment?
Yeah, well, he's gonna be gone in November, and he deserves his fate. I guess I'm still looking for somebody to say, what did I do or not do over the course of the last decade or the last 2 decades? What have I seen happen to American culture, and then by extension the law, because culture the law follows culture, I guess is an easier way to say it. Mm-hmm. Where is my culpability in all of this? It's just politicians I send to Springfield and Washington who lied to me. I did everything I could just by voting and sending those politicians, so I'm absolved of responsibility. Does anybody not agree with that?
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Wow, Dad, look at it go. It's a home run.
It sure is. I love this old ballpark, and I love the way they take care of it.
It's amazing, and I'm really looking forward to the next game.
And next time, you'll bring that grandson of mine, huh?
Strata Contractors knows that protecting your historical landmarks, professional buildings, and entertainment venues means preserving today's memories for future generations. That's why nationally recognized stadiums, unique architectural buildings, and other venues trust Strata Contractors to create and preserve beautiful and safe environments for their properties. Strata Contractors is equipped to handle complex general contract work inside or outside of your building. They specialize in concrete and masonry, restoration, structural, and ornamental steel. If you're a building owner or facilities manager, make the call to 773-348-8900. That's 773-348-8900. See their case studies on stratacontractors.com.
Everywhere you go, the threat looms. It follows you no matter what you do. The longer you avoid the IRS and the financial difficulties you're going through, the faster they'll begin to close in on you. Take control of your situation and stop the chase. John Dowett of Thinking Outside the Box law firm will help you end the feeling of being hunted by the IRS. If you've avoided taxes or could benefit from the life-saving assistance of bankruptcy, it's time you call John Dowett. This is an attorney who is willing to take on the federal government on your behalf. He's worked to discharge thousands of dollars in penalties, and he can help you settle your debts once and for all. Call 888-777-4193. Stop being hunted down by the IRS. Let John Dowett of Thinking Outside the Box law firm deal with the IRS personally. His proven system works. Call John today for your own relief plan, 888-777-4193, or online at thinkingoutsidetheboxlaw.com. That's thinkingoutsidetheboxlaw.com.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
What can we expect from Trump and Cruz when they address AIPAC today? We'll ask Michael Rubin from the American Enterprise Institute at 6:36.
And later, a man sings to a judge for a lenient sentence. Did it work? We'll explain. But first, into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, 34 degrees. More U.S. troops on their way to Iraq after a ISIS rocket killed a Marine and seriously wounded other U.S. personnel over the weekend. One Indiana sheriff's deputy is dead, another wounded after a shooting on Sunday. The Indianapolis Star reporting they were shot as they entered a mobile home, serving warrants on drug charges. Pennsylvania investigators say a retired state trooper is the suspect. in an attempted armed robbery that left him and 2 others dead. Clarence Briggs tried to rob a toll booth on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. President Obama's state visit to Cuba rolls on.
This is a historic visit, and it's a historic opportunity to engage directly with the Cuban people and to forge new agreements and commercial deals, to build new ties between our two peoples, and for me to lay out my vision for a future that's brighter than our past.
The president continues his tour of Havana today. Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid says the GOP stands to get some serious damage in the Senate over that battle to fill a seat on the U.S. Supreme Court.
They're going to wind up, as a result of this foolishness, they're going to wind up losing Senate seats they shouldn't have lost. I'm kind of glad they're doing it, but it's so foolish. McConnell's leading his senators over the cliff.
Nevada Democrat appearing on NBC's Meet the Press, while the Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, says he disagrees.
Who ought to make the decision? A lame duck president on the way out the door, or the president we're in the process of electing right now?
McConnell on CNN's State of the Union. The race for the White House continues tomorrow with nominating contests in 3 more states. Democrats and Republicans cast votes for Arizona's primary and Utah's caucuses. Democratic voters will caucus in Idaho. An investigation is underway after an off-duty Chicago police officer was shot on the far south side near 101st and Green. Park Forest Police updating the condition of one of its officers critically injured in a shooting on Saturday. Tim Jones remains hospitalized. Cook County Medical Examiner's Office identifies the man accused of shooting Jones as 21-year-old Thurman Reynolds of Park Forest. He was killed when officers returned fire. Chicago sports, Blackhawks fall to Minnesota in a shootout, 3-2. Women's college tournament basketball, DePaul moves on with a win over Louisville, 73-72. Cubs beat KC, White Sox over Oakland in Cactus baseball. The news service of Amtrak. Once-in-a-lifetime journeys depart daily. See where the train can take you. Take Amtrak from Chicago to Denver or Dallas for as low as $94. Go to Amtrak.com and see where the train can take you. Restrictions apply. 6:35 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager apologizes to the next generation.
When Donald Trump opened up, essentially, with speaking about his private parts, all I thought was, I want to apologize to the kids of America. You really are getting a worse country than my parents gave me.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Sean Hannity at 2 on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 on your mobile device. Now available on iHeartRadio. Online at iHeartRadio.com.
I feel great. I've always felt pretty good, but once I started taking them in September, I couldn't have felt any better. Everybody in my household's been sick through the holidays. We've had bad snowstorms here, and I feel great.
This is a wonderful thing. I'm really getting a lot of benefits from it. I'm 70 years old. I'm going to be 71 in April, and I just feel generally much better. I would also say there have been all kinds of colds and flu around me, and I haven't caught any of them. I have arthritis, and that has not been as much as it used to be by a long shot. So it's touched me in many areas.
Good health is just a phone call away. What are you waiting for? Call now and take the health challenge to get a free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
6:37. Quick check of the roads now in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center with Jim.
Eden's inbound, 21 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy, 31 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound 28. The Eisenhower, 53 minutes. Thorndale to the Loop, outbound 36. Stevenson, 41 minutes. 355 to Lakeshore Drive. The Ryan, 21 minutes. 95 to downtown. Traffic is a service of Jewel Osco. Your local Jewel has the centerpiece for your Easter feast. Get Cook's Spiral Sliced Ham for just $1.49 a pound. Limit 1 with $25 minimum purchase. Plus, get a 1-pound package of strawberries for 99 cents. Limit 4. That's traffic. AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast From the AirComfort.com Weather Center, 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. Partly sunny and 48 today. 34 officially at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 7. And Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. On AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by HealthQuest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. HealthQuest Radio is heard Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock here on AM 560, The Answer.
Your money. Find out how to keep more of it and live debt-free. Tonight on The Dave Ramsey Show, starting at 7 on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. And so President Obama landed in Cuba yesterday. I'm probably getting a tour of the communist paradise that Cuba has become under the Castro brothers. That's what I understand from seeing the movie Sicko. Maybe getting some tips on state-run health care from Fidel and Raul.
Meeting with Raul today, I think.
Yeah, that's super.
But they cleaned up the streets. They painted the whole city. Every street that he's going to go down has been repaved.
Oh, great.
To make everything look perfect. Like a movie set. Everything's fine here.
Meanwhile, a story last week from the Washington Examiner, 93,000 Cubans have poured over the border into this country in the last 2 years, 26,000 in just the last 6 months. Now, maybe President Obama could ask the Castro brothers, why are so many people wanting to come to our country when you've got Shangri-La right here in Havana? Don't understand it. Let's get a little bit better understanding of the purpose of the trip, the political purpose, of course. We're now joined by our friend Michael Rubin to help us do that. Michael is a resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, previously worked as an official at the Pentagon where he dealt with Middle East issues. Michael, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dan.
So the president's trip to Cuba, is this just kind of mainly about getting Congress to lift the embargo?
Well, the president's trip to Cuba, whether or not the embargo is lifted, is simply a victory lap for President Obama because he believes that the symbolism of being the first president in 90 years to visit Cuba is itself a sign of a breakthrough, is itself a victory. He doesn't recognize the fact that more dissidents have been arrested in the wake of his agreement. He doesn't recognize that by opening Cuba to greater tourism, that he's pumping money into the Cuban military, which owns most of the hotels. In effect, we started with a full house. The Cubans started with a pair of twos, and Obama has managed to allow the Cubans to come out on top.
But the good news of that is all his visit's going to do is create more Cuban-American Republican presidential candidates.
Perhaps that's the case. But, I have a challenge, Dan, for President Obama. If he's really sincere about breaking isolation, about standing up to freedom for an island nation, why doesn't he go to Taiwan? Taiwan is our 9th largest trading partner. It's isolated by the communist regime in China. Most people don't recognize, while China claims Taiwan as its own, that Taiwan has only really been part of China for 15 years during the past 500. And so perhaps it's time to actually go. All President Obama has done during his administration is send the State Department representative for transgender people to Taiwan. We can do better than that.
Really?
Absolutely,
that's
Amy.
So sad. So what about, is Cuba, they're not our enemy anymore, or are they? Aren't we
Well,
focused
we've
more on
removed them
ISIS?
from the state sponsor of terrorism list, but you know what President Obama isn't talking, and what some of his media enablers who are cheerleading and going along for the ride on Air Force One aren't talking about, is the fact that the Cubans are still trying to undercut democracy in places like Venezuela or Bolivia and so forth. And so perhaps they're not, quote-unquote, engaged in terrorism. They're still sheltering American cop killers, for example, fugitives from New Jersey and other places. So I'm not so sure that they've really welcomed peace and prosperity.
But won't his visit and our interference in helping Cuba get along help the Cuban people? They'll have internet access. They can get money out of ATMs. Tourism is going to be a booming business for them.
Well, this is one of the things. It's a great question, Amy. First of all, internet access can be turned on. It can also be shut off, and that's what we've seen in the wake of his initial visit. The second issue is with regard to the tourism. This has been the argument that most of the Europeans have made, and of course, European tourism has been booming in Cuba long before we had this opening. But Raul Castro personally owns or the Cuban military owns most of the hotels. So it's sort of like the Iran deal. In theory, you're creating a trickle-down effect, but in reality, what you're doing is pumping money disproportionately into the bank accounts of the hardliners.
Big story in Paris on Friday was the capture of the remaining fugitive suspect in November's Paris attacks. Does that mean that Paris will rescind their kind of quasi-martial law order? And what does that mean in terms of Europe's focus on interdicting radical Islamic terror more generally?
Well, I wish I could say, Dan, that the interdiction, that the arrest of this person who was culpable in the bombing last November would make a substantive difference. But the fact of the matter is the problem is so deep. What really worries me about both France and Belgium, especially France, is that on one hand we have visa waivers so that they can board airplanes, and of course they say that all the passenger manifests are vetted by intelligence, and yet in the last year we've had 2 major attacks in Paris. The French in most cases weren't aware of all the people in these cells, and yet these French citizens, immigrants from Morocco or Algeria, have managed to fly under the radar. They could just as easily be flying airlines into the United States, into Chicago.
And sticking in this general category, the recent attacks in both Ankara and Istanbul in Turkey, what does that indicate about the fight against ISIS in Syria and that region?
Well, first of all, what I think the biggest lesson which the Turks need to draw is that when you play with fire, you get burned. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has been giving support to the Islamic State behind the scenes, and what he needs to recognize is what the leaders of Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and Syria have recognized, which is when you support terrorism and believe that the terrorists are only going to stick overseas, in the end, you're going to be suffering blowback. It's a tragedy for the Turkish people when it comes to the Kurds because, of course, the Turks are facing a double wave of terrorism. On one hand, the Islamic State, on the other hand, the Kurds. The important thing to remember is while the Kurds used to be isolated in southeastern Turkey, back in the 1980s, the Turks destroyed a lot of the Kurdish villages in counterterrorism operations. That led the Kurds to spread all throughout Turkey. So now when violence flares, it's not going to be limited geographically. It's going to be in Istanbul. It's going to be in Ankara. It's going to be in the beach resorts in the Mediterranean. And that means that things are about to get very, very dark for Turkey.
But now, just in terms of trying to distill this, I know there's 3 dimensions at least going on here, but weren't the Kurds largely responsible for pushing back ISIS in Kobani? And so how does that factor into this dynamic with Erdogan and the Kurds and ISIS?
Well, this is one of the problems. Everyone says they're fighting the Islamic State, but oftentimes they take their own national priorities and pursue that. So, for example, the Turks say they're fighting the Islamic State, but they're actually fighting the Kurds, who are our allies in the war against the Islamic State. The Russians have said that they're fighting the Islamic State, but they were bombing everyone but the Islamic State. And by the way, Dan, the Russians said they were withdrawing from Turkey, but in the end, they actually didn't withdraw from Turkey. So there's a lot of mirage going on, a lot of smoke and mirrors. Push comes to shove. Turkey has become Pakistan on the Mediterranean, where they say they're fighting terrorism, but they're doing the exact opposite.
Well, speaking of Russia, did they withdraw all the troops from Syria?
No, this is what I'm
just
saying.
Smoke and mirrors?
What the Russians did was say they were withdrawing, but they kept the air base they established when they went in, and they conducted the same operation. 90% of the planes have stayed inside Syria, 90% of the personnel. What they're doing now is the other 10%, they're just running operations from Moscow or from Russian air bases in Russia. So, in effect, nothing has changed. But it's typical of the Obama administration. We're all trust. We're no verify. So we're willing to take the press release at its word and not follow up with the reality.
Today, Donald Trump and Ted Cruz are going to address the American-Israeli Political Action Committee. What do you expect from the 2 candidates, and what do you expect the reaction would be? There's already some rumblings that there's going to be at least a partial walkout of Trump by members of AIPAC, attendees to the conference.
Well, with Ted Cruz, I think it's boilerplate. Ted Cruz has always been a supporter of Israel and the security relationship with Israel. What people are waiting to hear about from Trump is Trump talked about neutrality in the Israel-Palestinian conflict. The problem with neutrality, or taking a line down the middle, is it assumes that both sides are equally right or equally wrong, and that can lead both sides to stake out more extreme positions. In this case, what AIPAC is waiting to hear is, hey, look, with the Oslo Accords, the Palestinians agreed to forswear terrorism. Now they're not forswearing terrorism. Why are you blaming the Israelis, they're going to ask, when in both the year 2000 under President Clinton and the year 2008 under George W. Bush, the Israeli prime ministers gave a peace agreement to the Palestinians, and the Palestinians rejected it without actually making a counter-proposal. Now, when it comes to the walkout, I think AIPAC is conflicted because on one hand, they welcome everyone, and they're welcoming Hillary Clinton. They invited Bernie Sanders. On the other hand, many people in the Jewish community are very, very upset by what they see as rumblings of for lack of a better word, fascism coming from, if not Trump, then the Trump camp. And that, of course, strikes a very deep chord given Jewish history. And that's why people are talking about walking out on Trump.
It'd be fascinating to us hear.
Yeah, well, 12 rabbis are signed up to supposedly.
But remember, Amy, there's 18,000 people there, so if 12 rabbis go out, I'm not sure anyone will notice.
I know, but the cameras will focus on them if they get up and leave.
That's true.
It'll be fascinating to listen to Trump's understanding of the history of that region and the complicated nature of that conflict. That will be fascinating to hear. Michael Rubin, he is a resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, a former Pentagon official, Middle East expert. Michael, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Thanks, Amy.
And he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up next, how effective was he? A man from Michigan tries to sing his way out of jail. But first, here's your forecast today. Partly sunny, a high of 48 degrees. Then tomorrow, it's going to be breezy. It's going to be warmer. It's going to feel like spring because we are in spring. A high of 62 degrees. Let's get the travel times. Here's Jim Telemonte.
Thanks, Amy. Eden's inbound. It's slow going. Toohey to the junction. 30 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose. Outbound 21. Kennedy, 31 minutes. O'Hare to downtown. Outbound 37. Westbound 190 still is heavy from River Road to Manheim. Inbound Eisenhower jammed. Wolf to Harlem, and then heavy Coster to Independence. It is 54 minutes. Thorndale to downtown. Outbound 36. Stevenson, 43 minutes. 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound 39. Ryan is 25 minutes. 95th to downtown. I-57, Bishop Ford, both with 5-minute delays approaching the Ryan. Northbound Tri-State slow, Reagan Tollway to North Avenue, eastbound Adams Tollway. Heavy, 59 to 53, and slow Elmhurst Road to Manheim. Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
I'm Lou Dobbs. Will the Wall Street winning streak continue? Atlanta's airport wants Uber drivers fingerprinted. Those stories next.
Tax problems? They only get worse if you don't do anything. Are you an individual or business that owes at least $10,000 in back taxes or have years of unfiled tax returns? Don't risk garnishments or levies on your wages, bank accounts, or accounts receivable. Call Rapid Resolution Tax Group now. They're Better Business Bureau A+ rated and accredited. Tax attorneys, enrolled agents, tax professionals, and they guarantee same-day contact with the IRS. No tax problem is too big. They've helped many people just like you with their tax problems. Pick up the phone and call 800-601-2929 now. If you qualify, Rapid Resolution Tax Group can settle your tax debt for less, remove penalties and fees, stop garnishments and levies. You may even qualify for the IRS Fresh Start Initiative. You do have rights as an American. Don't let your tax problems get worse. Call Rapid Resolution Tax Group for a free consultation at 800-601-2929. That's 800-601-2929. Call now.
Several weeks of gains have wiped out the losses of earlier this year. Investors hoping to build on their gains with a number of economic reports this week. Those reports include the latest data on existing and new home sales, durable goods orders, and the gross domestic product. Uber is resisting efforts by Atlanta's airport to force drivers for the ride-sharing service to have fingerprint-based background checks. The Atlantic City Council takes up the matter later this month, weeks after an Uber driver killed 6 and wounded and 2 others in Michigan. And Walgreens spending nearly $1.2 billion to up its stake in the pharmaceutical wholesaler that supplies its drugstores, mail order, and specialty pharmaceutical businesses. Walgreens is the nation's largest drugstore chain. Please join me for Lou Dobbs tonight at 7 and 11 Eastern on the Fox Business Network. This is the Lou Dobbs Financial Report.
Hey, if you need to sell your home in Chicagoland, Sean Hannity here with some very important facts that you need to know. Now, 40% of homes hitting the market in Chicago are not selling. Now, those are horrible odds. You need to call Saul Z and the Z team based right here in Chicagoland. Now, Saul sells a home on average every 24 hours and attracts hundreds of buyers every month locally, nationally, and internationally. The Wall Street Journal ranks Saul's team in the top 110 teams out of 1.2 million agents in the U.S. Now, Saul Z guarantees to sell your home in 29 days at a price and deadline that you agree to, or he will buy your home or he'll sell it for free. Plus, working with Saul is also risk-free. After 24 hours, if he's not doing his job, you can walk away free and clear. Just call the agent I would call if I needed to sell my home and lived in Chicagoland. Call Saul now at 888-346-0666. That's 888-346-0666. Or go online at callsaul.net. That's callsaul.net.
The following is a paid political announcement.
When did Republicans lose their backbone, their guts, their conviction? Some will say they stood up to Obama. That's easy. But who stood up to their own party? That's Marlin Stutzman. Marlin said no to the establishment by voting against John Boehner. And he fought sweetheart deals on both sides by voting against the omnibus. Because politicians refuse to get it done, Marlin authored the only conservative budget that actually balances. And to keep the Washington crowd from getting cozy, Marlin is fighting for term limits to toss the career politicians out. It's not good enough to just vote for candidates who say they're conservative. We need leaders who have the guts to act like one. Marlin knows when Republicans bend, America breaks. Stand strong, Marlin. Conservative Marlin Stutzman for Senate.
I'm Marlin Stutzman, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Stutzman for Senate.
AM 560, The Answer.
Love that song. All right, so the next clip of audio I'm about to play for you, Dan, is not an audition for The Voice or for America's Got Talent. It's actually Brian Earl Taylor. He's a convicted felon in Michigan who was pinched this last time for carrying a concealed weapon and for unlawful imprisonment, kidnapping. And when he was up there, you know, because he had, during his sentencing phase of his hearing, he begged for mercy from the judge, but he sang his request.
Hello there, Your Honor. I want to say I'm sorry for the things I've done, and I try and be stronger in this life I chose, but I want you to know that door I closed. In Your Honor, I'm sorry. So
he apologized to the judge, to his family, to the victim. But the judge told Taylor he was a talented young man and that she hopes he takes advantage of the programs available to him in prison. Did you like it?
No, I thought it was a little pitchy. Well, I guess
it was unique, but everybody in the courtroom just acted like it was another day in court.
2 years for the concealed weapon, 18 months to 15 years for unlawful imprisonment. Hello from the other side of the bars.
I thought it was a terrible audition.
Yeah.
I mean, really annoying, to the point I actually couldn't hear anymore.
Yeah.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you're a baby boomer or senior without an estate plan or have other existing legal needs, rest assured, peace of mind can easily be yours. Stordo, Finn, and Rosinski proudly support AM 560's Feed the Children Business Benefactor Program and are excited to introduce their family law firm to listeners like you. For over 3 decades, they've provided Chicagoland families with estate plans and solutions, including elder care and nursing home planning, wills, trusts, guardianships, and probate avoidance. Stordo, Finn, and Rosinski take a friendly, professional approach. Their mission is to always treat clients just like family and provide quick response to your questions. And you'll always speak with an attorney. Please call Stordo, Finn, and Rosinski, the People's Lawyer, for your initial no-obligation consultation at 630-860-5520 or visit peopleslawyer.info. That's 630-860-5520 or online at peopleslawyer.info.
Spring is in the air, and it's here. And along with the warmer temperatures comes time for some spring cleaning. And if your home is like mine, you've had a lot of foot traffic over the winter, which brought in water, mud, those nasty salt stains. Now, that residue of winter sticks around in your carpet, area rugs, your tile, your grout. That's why I recommend you spring clean with the best Executive Green Carpet Cleaning. When Executive Green cleaned my home, they used their own purified water with a natural solution that left no sticky, chalky residue. There's still time now to book your cleaning before the Easter weekend. Call 708-599-5151. Ask about Executive Green's $139 special, which includes 3 carpeted rooms and their 100% no-risk guarantee. So if you're not satisfied, your service is free. Like them on Facebook to see all the amazing before and after photos. Call 708-599-5151 or visit executivegreencarpetcleaning.com.
The following is a paid political announcement.
When did Republicans lose their backbone, their guts, their conviction? Some will say they stood up to Obama. That's easy. But who stood up to their own party? That's Marlin Stutzman. Marlin said no to the establishment by voting against John Boehner. And he fought sweetheart deals on both sides by voting against the omnibus. Because politicians refuse to get it done, Marlin authored the only conservative budget that actually balances. And to keep the Washington crowd from getting cozy, Marlin is fighting for term limits to toss the career politicians out. It's not good enough to just vote for candidates who say they're conservative. We need leaders who have the guts to act like one. Marlin knows when Republicans bend, America breaks. Stand strong, Marlin. Conservative Marlin Stutzman for Senate.
I'm Marlin Stutzman, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Stutzman for Senate.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Will Trump get dumped for a conservative unity ticket at 7:07?
But first, into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, a 7-year-old dies in an accidental shooting. An investigation is underway at this hour after an off-duty Chicago police officer was shot on the far south side. A Calumet City man charged in the death of his young stepson. And last night, DePaul's women move on in the NCAA tournament. WIND Chicago News Time, 7 o'clock.
Fox News Radio. I'm Dave Anthony. He's the first U.S. president in Cuba in 88 years.
This is a historic visit.
And President Obama will sit down later this morning with Cuba's leader.
The president will have a one-on-one meeting with his Cuban counterpart, Raul Castro, where he'll press for more political reforms and also lay out some other goals.
More Americans coming to Cuba, more engagement with the Cuban people.
The president is set to meet with Cuban political dissidents tomorrow, but the Cuban government is not making it easy. Numerous political dissidents were arrested yesterday just ahead of the president's arrival. Traveling with the president in Havana, John Decker, Fox News.
Donald Trump goes to Washington today.
He'll be speaking at AIPAC, the pro-Israel group. He'll also be meeting with nearly 24 big-time Republicans, a clear sign that he's at least trying to improve relations with the GOP establishment.
Fox's Kristen Fisher. Some 40 rabbis plan to protest Trump's speech tonight at the pro-Israel AIPAC event, upset over some of his past comments about Israeli-Palestinian relations. Trump's Republican presidential rivals Ted Cruz and John Kasich will also address AIPAC, and so will Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton. Bernie Sanders will not. A retired Pennsylvania state trooper's dead after getting into a shootout with other troopers after a robbery gone bad. Fox's Tanya J. Powers on the case live.
Pennsylvania State Police Captain David Kane says Clarence Briggs confronted 2 toll collectors on the Pennsylvania Turnpike with a handgun and ordered them inside.
While inside the building, the actor attempted to tie up both victims. A struggle ensued and the actor fled the building.
Toll collector Danny Krause, on the job for less than 3 months, was killed along with Ronald Heist, a retired NYPD officer who was working as Turnpike security. Kane says it's possible Briggs had been waiting for the fare collection vehicle to get there, Dave.
Tanya, Russian investigators say the black box recorders on the Dubai plane that crashed in Russia Saturday were badly damaged and are not readable. The plane blew up after nosediving and 62 people were killed. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Mostly clear skies, 34 degrees. It is 7:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning, I'm Mike Scott. Police are questioning a person of interest after an off-duty officer was shot. On the far south side, police say two suspects tried to rob the officer early this morning near 101st and Green. Gunfire was exchanged. Both offenders fled the scene. The officer remains hospitalized at this hour, but is expected to survive. Chicago police say a 7-year-old boy died after he accidentally shot himself on the south side. It happened inside a home near Aberdeen and Marquette Road. Child suffered a gunshot wound to the head and was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. Park Forest police officer remains hospitalized after he was wounded in a shootout with a burglary suspect. Officer Timothy Jones was shot Saturday morning responding to a break-in at a vacant home. The suspect, identified as Thurman Reynolds, was killed in a firefight. A man being held on $1 million bond after his young stepson was burned to death in south suburban Calumet City. Gregory Miles has been charged with first-degree murder and child endangerment after using scalding hot water to try and give his 1-year-old a bath. A man is alive after his kayak capsized in Chili Lake, Michigan. The small boat flipped yesterday morning near 31st Street Beach on the south side. And members of the Griffith, Indiana community gathered for prayers of thanksgiving after that community's high school basketball team and coaches were injured in a bus crash. 300 attended that service in Griffith Central Park. The bus carrying 27 members of the high school boys basketball team, coaches, and others was headed to a state tournament game Saturday when it was sideswiped by an out-of-control car, then rolled in the ditch alongside I-65. Chicago sports, Wild over the Blackhawks, 3-2 in a shootout. Women's college tournament basketball, DePaul moves on with a win over Louisville. They'll play the winner of St. Bonaventure and Oregon State. Cubs over Kansas City 5-2. White Sox beat Oakland 6-2. And the news, a service of Business Outfitters by Land's End. Well, there's an old saying that you know. It's you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And it is true. Land's End makes it easier than ever to look your best and outfit your entire team, so you always make a great impression. Business Outfitters by Land's End. They supply confidence. Shop now at business.landsend.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Sean Hannity warns of a third-party challenge.
The Washington Post today is claiming that a group of, quote, conservative leaders got together this morning to plot a third-party challenge if Donald Trump gets the nomination. I would argue, and I'm saying this respectfully, this is a death wish. This is a plan to help elect Hillary. This is a circular firing squad.
The Sean Hannity Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Joe Walsh at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you in foreclosure, behind in the mortgage, underwater with a mortgage? Well, you'd be not alone. In fact, there's 20 million other American families in the same boat as you. And this came about not because these families decided to commit bank fraud, because they were the victims of fraud by the Wall Street investment bankers and the banks that now service the mortgages. But there are some things you do. My partner, I'm Lou Bridges, my partner Scott O and I have put together a firm, a team of people to help people like you. We apply for modifications, we defend a foreclosure, we apply a restructuring, we explore a short sale, and investors who may buy the home and lease it back to you. But whatever your objectives are, you need to have a competent legal counsel. But whatever you do, people, never give up the land. Fight for truth and justice. You do that, and I guarantee you will never be alone. Call us for a free consultation.
Call 224-513-1231 or visit FightIllinoisForeclosures.com. That's 224-513-1231 or FightIllinoisForeclosures.com.
I've been teaching organic chemistry for the last 17 years, so I'm pretty good with complex calculations. But when I started thinking about my retirement, I was pretty stumped. Luckily, I have TIAA as my financial partner. Together, we retrosynthetically analyzed my financial future, which is organic chem speak for we figured it out.
See how we're helping those who do good do well at the new TIAA.org. TIAA, created to serve, built to perform.
This is an announcement for all people who want to take a risk-free challenge to whiten their teeth in 5 minutes using clinically proven power swabs. This risk-free challenge is for people whose smile has been yellowed by coffee, tea, or smoking. It's so effective, we challenge you to try it for 5 minutes to see how white your smile could be. If lines are busy, try again. Dial 1-800-663-1592. That's 1-800-663-1592. 1-800-663-1592.
7:07 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. The inbound Kennedy has delays from Cumberland to the Burn Circle. It's now 36 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound 38. Edens, 28 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 21. The Eisenhower, 56 minutes. Thorndale to the post office, outbound 36. Stevenson, 45 minutes. 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 39. Ryan is 25 minutes. 95th to downtown. Southbound Lakeshore Drive, heavy 18th to the Stevenson. Tri-State northbound delays, Plainfield Road to 47th, and from the Reagan Tollway to North Avenue. Eastbound Adams Tollway, heavy Roselle to 53, and it's also slow Elmhurst to 2E. Reagan Tollway tight from the Tri-State to the Eisenhower. Veterans Memorial, slow 75th to the Reagan Tollway, and St. Charles to 290. No delays 3-4 to Northwest Indiana. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center. 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. Here's our meteorologist, Kevin Snyder.
Partial sunshine today with a high of 49. Then tonight it will become mostly cloudy with a low of 40. For tomorrow, a breezy day with partial sunshine, wind gusts up to 30 miles per hour, high 61. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
34, mostly clear skies at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by In the Know with Wealth Management Group, hosted by Craig Bolanos. Heard Sunday mornings at 10.
Good morning. Welcome to your Monday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
So let's set the tone for everybody at home. How many of you have a positive impression of Donald Trump? Raise your hands. None of you. How many of you have a positive impression of Hillary Clinton? Raise your hands. None of you.
Why is your campaign manager out in the crowd engaging protesters? This is the second incident.
Well, you know what? Because the security at the arena, the police were a little bit lax.
Donald is in a difficult position because in a two-man race, he has a very hard time breaking 50%. So our path forward is to win primaries going forward.
Everybody's got to face the fact that we're going to an open, multi-ballot convention. That's where we're headed. And the convention is an extension of what we're going through right now.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Despite what John Kasich said at the top there, we're going to a contested convention. That's not at all clear. It turns out if Trump stays roughly on the same pace that he's been on to this point, he gets the necessary delegates, and there is no contested convention. Nate Cohen, who's the sabermetrician at the New York Times, much better detailing the math than I and most everyone else, has projecting Trump at 1,300 delegates at present.
Really? Yeah. What about Wisconsin, though? Because everyone, George Stephanopoulos, that kept saying April 5th, he's got to lose in Wisconsin. Cruz has got to win, and then we'll have a contested
it's not that simple.
Convention.
That's the simple mind of George Stephanopoulos. It turns out it's not that simple. But I want to pick up on the Frank Luntz focus group. You heard at the top, that was Frank Luntz asking a group of a dozen assembled voters, who has a favorable impression of Trump? Raise your hand. No one raises their hand. Who has a favorable impression of Hillary? No one raises their hand. And then
they're the two front runners. Nice.
Yeah, well, that's it. So it's good, right? That prompts the question. Well, how do we get here? If nobody likes either of these two, somebody does because they're voting for them. They're winning primaries and caucuses. So something's happening. This is very much like the Pauline Kael experience. I don't know anybody who voted for Nixon. He wins 49 states. Maybe it has to do with your circle. Luntz, also one of the some kind of, 30-something white dude opined on both Hillary and Trump. I thought this was a pretty good distillation.
I'm most troubled by the fact that so many people support Hillary and Trump. It's shocking to me. I mean, the number of people that I know in my life, they don't like him and they don't like Hillary, and they're so emotionally driven. They act like kids a lot of times when they're talking.
I'm not sure if he's talking about Trump and Hillary or his friends, but
or the people in the crowd.
But the Week essentially has an interesting piece about a general election matchup. Donald Trump will force the Democratic Party to make a fundamental decision. 3 ways to go if you're facing Trump. Option 1, address the new wave of populist anger directly and try and add as many Sanders voters and maybe even potential Trump voters to the Obama coalition as possible. Option 2, for Hillary, try to bring in the more cosmopolitan Republicans who would never pull the lever for Trump. This is what we were talking about before, right? The kind of those that find Donald Trump repugnant but are otherwise self-identify as Republican, like to some extent we saw happen with Obama in 2008 in particular. Or option 3, just do nothing and try and pull off 2008 and 2012 again. What do you think? What's the option that Hillary could pull off, if any of these, to defeat Donald Trump? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Or is Trump impenetrable to any of these strategies? Because it's clear Hillary's not going to be able to do 2008 or 2012.
No, that's not going to happen.
She may have...
Because she lived 2008. And she was the loser in 2008.
Well, she may have the same kind of percentage of minority support, but there's not the same enthusiasm.
No.
It's just qualitatively different.
Just, if you're a repeat person, there's some wear and tear. You just become, you see them, it's like, oh, white noise.
Can she address the wave of populist anger and bring in Sanders voters? I suspect that Trump, to some extent, will have an easier time and make a formal play for Sanders voters than will Hillary. I think it's just those two just don't fit. Mm-hmm. Hillary and Sanders voters. Trump with celebrity and
he's hip with the kids. He is. They all watched his reality TV show.
Well, that's the celebrity part. And to some extent, brashness, I think, has potentially more appeal to kind of fact-free voters, which is what we're largely talking about here. I mean, these Sanders voters, these millennials.
Oh, my God. They just want free college. I mean, really, why wouldn't you go? Hey, he's offering free tuition. He'll pay your student loans. Oh, yeah, I'm going to go to that rally. I'll support him.
They remind me of what Ronald Reagan said to a bunch of campus agitators back in his day when he was governor of California when they were protesting.
Oh, yeah. What did he say?
We're your future. We're your future. Where's the protest? And he wrote on a legal pad and held up, if you're the future, I'm selling my bonds. And then option 3, try and bring in more cosmopolitan Republicans who would never pull the lever for Trump. It seems to me that's where Hillary's going to have to make an offset if she's going to win, and I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical she can do that, but she's going to have to offset the quote unquote Reagan Democrats, and frankly those that may be a little bit center left, but who think the system is beyond repair, and you need someone to take a cudgel to it, like Trump is. At least rhetorically willing to do. But that's the play. Can she get high-minded, at least self-styled high-minded Republicans that are upper income types to switch over and vote for Hillary like so many voted for Obama? Is that a pathway to the nomination? I don't know. I think the map is going to be kind of turned upside down. It's not going to be the conventional blue wall.
You've said that before. So what does that mean? What's going to happen?
Well, I just think you're going to have states that are put in play because of the Trump movement that have been in play for Republicans before, and I think you're going to have states put in play that are traditionally Republican that may be more competitive because of the repellent nature of some of that Trump movement to some of the voters that we're describing. I think on balance, a movement means lack of enthusiasm. We've seen that happen before to Republican candidates when Republicans were doing next in line for the better part of a decade and a half. It seems to me the Democrats have that same problem, and it's manifesting itself in the primary, as we've seen with respect to turnout to this point. Oh, let's go to Tom in Oswego. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, good morning, Ben and Amy. I predicted a lot of this would be coming. I think Hillary's going to take the high road, while a lot of the outside groups that, to me, are promoted by Democrats and maybe Hillary in the background cause so much trouble with whoever is nominated on the Republican side. And by trouble, I mean, there could be riots, there could be all these protests that create violence. She'll take the high road, and a lot of people think there's no other choice but to vote for her.
Yeah.
I really think that's what's coming up. That's what's coming. It's only going to get worse.
Thanks for the call, Tom. Then there's this piece by Rich Lowry in National Review Online. And Rich Lowry was on Stephanopoulos yesterday, and he said this about National Review's opposition to Trump.
So is this the end of the Stop Trump movement, or is it just getting started?
Just the beginning, George. We will be like the last Japanese soldier in the jungle resisting this guy.
The last Japanese soldier in the jungle.
Resisting this guy. Wow.
I hate to break it to you, Rich. It's getting quickly to that point, and the last Japanese soldier in the jungle ultimately succumbed. So I'm not sure that's the analogy I would use unless you have a fatalistic view. Maybe he does. He writes in National Review Online that Marco Rubio's speech suspending his campaign last week was a requiem for an entire style of Republican politics, the kind of upbeat or opportunity-oriented vein in the GOP that ran through George W. Bush's compassionate conservatism back to Jack Kemp, who made kind of a civic religion out of optimism and inclusivity. I'll tell you what, if Trump's rise eliminates what a lot of Republicans term optimism, but which was really kind of mindless happy talk in support of big government, then that's a positive development. George W. Bush's compassionate conservatism, as has been said, once you start having to apply adjectives to your philosophy, your philosophy's in trouble. There should be no need to have a qualifier like that for conservatism. You redefine it by how you advance it, not by applying adjectives. So I think Rich Lowry and some of the guys at National Review Online who long for the Kempian era of the good guys in charge of big government, I think that that has been part and parcel of what has brought us to this point too. The George H.W. Bush years, the George W. Bush years, and of course the last 4 years of Republican control. Well, 2 years and 4 years Republican control of the House and the Senate. Let's go to Ron in the South Side.
Man, you know what? One concept really I wish I don't have to hear again is Reagan Democrats. That's a fallacy from years ago. They will not win in today's demographics based on angry white men. But let me people.
Wait a second. Wait. How is it a fallacy? When steelworkers who traditionally vote Democrat cross over to vote for Trump, those aren't quote unquote Reagan Democrats. That is actually what happened.
In the general election, Dan, and I will be
Ron.
Let me finish the point.
Ron. Well, okay, but just real quick. I mean, just point of order. Ronald Reagan won 40 states and 49 states because he had people cross over and vote for him. I mean, that's just a fact. But go ahead.
So, okay, if you think Donald Trump is going to have that same success, okay.
No, I don't.
Okay, and so it's not going to happen. But what's interesting, when people talk about Reagan, very successful governor, I consider Reagan more conservative, more moderate, very successful. See, the Democrats, they had no choice. Hillary Clinton is just garbage. Republicans had a very successful, you have a very successful governor with a surplus that could win in the general election. But earlier you were asking, how do we get to this point? It's really overlooking and dismissing a person who maybe you not agree totally with Case's positions and possibly he's not a liar like those other scumbags. So when we continue to not place value on people who at least have some kind of integrity, then you get Donald Trump and you get Hillary Clinton. Have a good day.
Thanks, Ron. Phil on the Northwest Side.
Yeah, when I saw the advertisement for Barack Obama when he first started running, and they put the South American colors on his face, I just can't believe the way this media keeps attacking Trump, saying he's everything that they're worried about. Everything that they're worried is what Barack Obama's already done. For example, he's visiting every communist country and doing all kinds of communist things. And he's the first one to be in Cuba because they recognize him as a communist. But our media is going to sit there and talk about how they're worried about Trump devaluing currency and all these other things. You know, the Democrats are running a Russian election, and Trump is basically like a conservative Democrat. And any Republicans that say they won't vote for him if he becomes a nominee, they are voting for the Democrat side, even by not going, because that's how the machine always worked.
Thanks for the call, Phil.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Sunshine right now. It looks like it's going to be a nice day. Partly sunny by the afternoon, a high of 48 degrees. Tonight, a low in the 40s. And tomorrow, it's going to really heat up around here. It's going to be a gorgeous day, breezy, warmer with mostly sunny skies, a high of 62 degrees. Any sunshine on the roadways? Here's Jim Telemonte with the answer.
Amy and Des Plaines, there's a crash with injuries southbound Elmhurst Road before Oakton. Metro has delays on the BNSF line because of mechanical problems. The Edens, 26 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 22. The Kennedy, now 40 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound 35. The Eisenhower's an hour and 5 minutes from Thorndale to downtown. 52 minutes from Manheim. Outbound to Thorndale, it's 36 minutes. Stevenson, 50 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 39. Ryan is 30 minutes, 95 to downtown. Northbound Tri-State, heavy between the Stevenson and 31st, and from the Reagan Tollway to North Avenue. Adams Tollway sluggish, Roselle to 53. Veterans Memorial, slow 63rd to the Reagan Tollway. I'm Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
On AM 560 The Answer, we talk about the important issues that affect your world. Things like the economy, education, and foreign policy. There's always so much going on in the news that we don't always have the time to drill down and talk about the big ideas behind the big issues. That's where Upstream Ideas comes in. Upstream Ideas, online at upstream-ideas.com, in partnership with the Illinois Policy Institute, provides the kind of information that informs the policy discussions happening here on AM 560. At Upstream Ideas, you'll broaden the debate, move beyond partisan assumptions, and challenge accepted orthodoxies. In other words, Upstream Ideas goes against the current and thinks upstream. Go online now to upstream-ideas.com. That's upstream-ideas.com. You'll be armed with new information and fresh perspectives to spur you on to make the state of Illinois and the United States of America a bit more free, a bit more just, and a bit more civilized. Upstream-ideas.com. The following is a paid political announcement.
When did Republicans lose their backbone, their guts, their conviction? Some will say they stood up to Obama. That's easy. But who stood up to their own party? That's Marlin Stutzman. Marlin said no to the establishment by voting against John Boehner. And he fought sweetheart deals on both sides by voting against the omnibus. Because politicians refuse to get it done, Marlin authored the only conservative budget that actually balances. And to keep the Washington crowd from getting cozy, Marlin is fighting for term limits to toss the career politicians out. It's not good enough to just vote for candidates who say they're conservative. We need leaders who have the guts to act like one. Marlin knows when Republicans bend, America breaks. Stand strong, Marlin. Conservative Marlin Stutzman for Senate.
I'm Marlin Stutzman, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Stutzman for Senate.
CertaPro painters are here for every stage of your life, from moving into a new home, creating the ideal nursery, to reinventing your living space. CertaPro painting experts create the perfect setting while you do life. They came to our home and brightened our walls and our moods so very quiet they wouldn't wake a baby. But the best part? They clean up after themselves so you don't have to do it. And now that spring is here, it is the perfect time to spruce up your home's exterior. Take a look at your home. Do you see chipping, peeling, fading? Well, leave it to CertaPro painting experts to refresh, renew, and protect your biggest investment, your home. Now is the time to call for your free estimate and schedule your exterior painting project. 1-800-GO-CERTA, 1-800-GOCERTA. That's CERTA with a C. Or visit CertaPro.com today, CertaPro.com. CertaPro Painters, we do painting, you do life. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated.
AM 560, The Answer.
So, Amy, good news on the White Sox Adam LaRoche front. Jerry Reinsdorf has issued a gag order so that everybody can shut up and play baseball.
Yeah, and also he released a statement saying, Dan, this is just a miscommunication and a misunderstanding rather than being a case of anyone not telling the truth. Because Chris Sales came out on Friday and he was...
Sale, singular, please.
Sale, was very upset about what happened because he claimed he heard 3 different stories of why Adam LaRoche's kid is no longer in the clubhouse and Adam LaRoche is gone.
Kenny said quite a few things, contradicting statements a couple times. Came to the players, said it was the coaches, went to the coaches, said it was the players, then came in here and told us that it was the owner. So we're not exactly who it's coming from, where it originated from. That's why kind of we're just still trying to figure out where it all came from.
See, when you're a funky left-hander Cy Young Award winner, you can take out after the president of the organization like Chris Sale did, which is kind of fun.
But Adam LaRoche, I don't know if you saw this, he tweeted out his contract that he signed with the White Sox saying that his son can be a part of the ballpark, that he can be a part of the clubhouse, that he can bring him to the games.
Yeah.
So he was saying that they reneged on that contract, and that's one of the reasons why he walked.
Yeah.
But I was worried about Kenny Williams. I'm worried. Is he going to be able to keep his job?
He's going to keep his job, and Adam LaRoche's .200 batting average out of the lineup will give the White Sox a better chance to win the division this year. So I would call that a win-win situation for the White Sox. Maybe not for Adam LaRoche's kid, but, he had his time in the majors, too.
He did.
More so than most of us.
He got a great opportunity to, experience Major League Baseball at a juvenile level.
Pardon me if I don't weep for Adam LaRoche.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Lex Howard, CEO of Balance of Nature. I occasionally take new customer calls, and often people tell me that they have been hearing our advertisements for years. What are you waiting for? Start now and begin experiencing the benefits of Balance of Nature in your life.
I'm going to tell you right now, and this is crazy. I just went to the dentist, and I had a tooth cleaning, and she's like amazed. She goes, your teeth are great. She goes, I don't even need to be doing this work. And, and health-wise, heart-wise, stamina-wise, it's unbelievable. I just adore your products. I wish I could talk to everybody individually, give them my phone number and say, if you don't believe me, call me up. I'll tell you. It's the best thing you ever did in your life.
Good health is just a phone call away. What are you waiting for? Call now and take the health challenge to get a free month supply of Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
Hi, this is Shalom Klein of Get Down to Business, the show for small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship, powered by Tandem HR.
Big plans for your business mean you can't do it alone. Investing in your management team is a smart investment in your future. These 5 tips from Tandem HR will take your business to the next level. 1. Find good talent and keep them. This means paying them fair and square for what they bring to your team. 2. Recognize a job well done. Sharing in success builds morale and creates a culture that appreciates hard work. 3. Teach time management. Arm your team with tools that will help them get the most out of every day. 4. Invest in training and development. Great leaders have a constant willingness to learn. 5. Lead by example. Be professional, decisive, ethical, and supportive. The leadership skills you want to see in your team should be the same skills they see in the boss. For more tips, advice, and stories of entrepreneurial successes, listen to Get Down to Business with me, Shalom Klein, heard Sunday evenings at 6. Your Business Minute of the Day is brought to you by Everett Wealth Solutions.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
What's the chance of Cruz and Kasich getting together? We'll ask Steve Deese at 7:37.
And remember this guy, Bob Swedlinski, he was staple gunned in the head. Well, we have an update. He'll be joining us at 7:47. But first, into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Sunshine and 33 degrees and a security alert for Donald Trump's campaign. They say they're adding more men and women on the front lines for the candidate at his rallies. Trump campaign spokeswoman telling ABC this morning they're adding security resources for larger events. Hundreds of Jewish professionals, rabbis, and voters planning a protest against Trump, silently walking out as the GOP presidential frontrunner takes the stage at the American Israel Public Affairs Committee conference. Enough plutonium to build 50 nuclear weapons is headed to the east coast of the United States. Japan is sending 330 kilograms of weapons-grade plutonium to the Department of Energy's Savannah River site in South Carolina. Experts say it's the largest shipment of its kind since 1992. A meeting with Cuban President Raul Castro will highlight the president's state visit to Cuba today. The president, just moments ago on ABC's Good Morning America.
Obviously, our intention has always been to get a ball rolling, knowing that change wasn't going to happen overnight. But what we have already seen is the reopening of the embassy.
Today, he'll meet with Raul Castro and attend a state dinner. One Indiana sheriff's deputy is dead. Another wounded severely following a shooting on Sunday, about 60 miles north of Indianapolis. The 2016 presidential campaign rolls on tomorrow. Contests in 3 more states. Democrats and Republicans cast votes in Arizona and Utah. Democratic voters will caucus in Idaho. Police in Chicago are questioning a person of interest after an off-duty officer was shot on the far south side. Chicago police say a 7-year-old boy died after he accidentally shot himself on the south side. It happened inside a home yesterday near Aberdeen and Marquette Road. And a man is alive after his kayak capsized on Lake Michigan. That small boat flipped over yesterday near 31st Street Beach. Crews were able to pull the victim to shore. Was treated there at the scene. Chicago sports, NHL, wild over the Blackhawks, 3-2 in a shootout. Women's college hoops, DePaul beat Louisville in the NCAA tournament, 73-72. So the Lady Blue Demons play the winner of St. Bonaventure and Oregon State next. The news, a service of Compassion International. Never thought of yourself as a hero? That's what you'll be for a child in poverty when you become a sponsor with Compassion International. Find out how you can release a child from poverty right now. Go to compassion.com/radio. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
I believe what we need in America today is more love and kindness.
The Joe Walsh Show.
We've had so much love and kindness. We have been like parents who have indulged our kids. Parents who've never said no. Parents who've never set a curfew. We don't need love and kindness. This country needs a kick in the butt.
The Joe Walsh Show. Weeknights starting at 5. Right after Sean Hannity at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Here Maps, the app that turns your phone into a car navigation system with offline maps and turn-by-turn guidance. Get it now at here.com/guide.
Hey, the security officers at your business are an extension of your business. Because they are, you got to have the best. Often the first person your customer meets is your security officer, so they need to be professional, friendly, and courteous. Hey, if you're having issues with your security provider, don't tolerate it. Man, call Guardian Security Services. They're friends of mine. They're at the top of their game, setting the bar for customer service for the past 41 years in Chicago. Easy to reach if you have questions. They pride themselves on a client retention ratio greater than 95% and the best training and vetting practices in the industry. Hey, if you're unhappy with your on-site security officer or doorman, hey, call Guardian Security Services. Get a free consultation and tell them Joe Walsh sent you. Right now, call 708-385-3300. That's 708-385-3300 or online at guardiansecurityinc.com.
7:35. Let's get an update on the roads. In our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center, here's Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. The inbound Edens is 22 minutes. Lake Hook to Montrose outbound 27. The exit to Toohey is blocked right now with a crash. Kennedy inbound 40 minutes. O'Hare to downtown outbound 35. The Eisenhower an hour and 15 minutes. Thorndale to the Loop 58 minutes from Manheim. Outbound 39 to Thorndale. Stevenson 50 minutes. 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound 39. Ryan is 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. Northbound Tri-State, slow in pockets from the Stevenson to 31st and from the Reagan Tollway to North Avenue. Veterans Memorial heavy, the Boughton Toll to the Reagan Tollway. Traffic is a service of Subway. Through the end of March only, get the new 6-inch classic rotisserie-style chicken from Subway restaurants for just $3.50. Limited time only. Additional charge for extras, including deluxe subs, plus applicable tax. Prices and participation may vary. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center. 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. Partly sunny and 48 right now, cloudy and 40 degrees overnight, and right now 34 degrees at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Illinois Rising, hosted by Dan Proft and the Illinois Policy Institute. Sunday afternoons at 3 on AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up next, it's me, Mike Gallagher, right after Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So John Kasich was on Face the Nation yesterday talking about Merrick Garland nomination to the Supreme Court and continuing to prosecute the line of argumentation, the only one he really has to prosecute, that this is going to be a contested convention. Don't listen to sabermetricians like Nate Cohn. Don't believe your lying eyes at the delegate count. It's going to go to a second or third or fourth or fifth or 25th ballot, and that's where John Kasich will shine, will be designated as the white knight to save the party from Donald Trump and itself.
Don't rule him out. And then later he was on with Dana Bash at CNN, and really, Dan, you should take a chill pill.
Everybody's got to face the fact that we're going to an open, multi-ballot convention. That's where we're headed. And the convention is an extension of what we're going through right now. And so I've been at a convention that was contested in 1976. What happens is the delegates will take everything seriously. They will take a look at people's experience and their electability. Okay, and that's fine. I don't know what's everybody so panicked about this. Everybody needs to take a little chill pill, to tell you the truth.
I'll tell you what, I wonder if John Kasich could point to the convention that he was at where a candidate who won one state was the nominee.
I have a name for him. One State Wonder. You like it?
Yeah, not bad.
Thank you.
All right, for more on this.
Waiting to tell you that for days now.
Yes, I'm glad. You don't keep that bottled up any longer. For more on this and preview of tomorrow's primaries in Arizona and Utah, we're now joined by Steve Deese. He is the author of A Nefarious Plot. That's his new book. He's also a nationally syndicated radio talk show host on the Salem Network. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, guys. And if I wasn't awake, I am after that traffic report. Good grief, I'm exhausted listening to that. Holy cow.
Oh, that's a light day,
you guys do that every morning?
Wow. Yeah, well, we get here a little bit before the traffic, so that helps a bit. But, yeah, we're not out there in the cornfields.
Xanax sales in Chicago have to be through the roof.
Actually,
you guys...
So Steve, you're a Cruz supporter, as am I. But there's at a certain point you have to kind of come to a realization about the reality on the ground. And I wonder if you're there yet, or you still think that there is a path for Cruz to be the nominee.
I think there's a path for a lot of people to still be the nominee. The question is which of those paths will be accepting to the public or not. I think the likelihood that anybody is going to get 1,237 is pretty low. I think if anybody gets it, they won't get it until June 7th, the very last day of the primary calendar. If you take a look at what's going to happen tomorrow, is Cruz is going to win Utah convincingly, probably get over 50%, which will give him all the delegates, even with Kasich in the race. Arizona, Trump will probably win. Cruz will probably win on Election Day. But the early voting advantage that Trump will have, combined with the people who threw their votes away because they voted early for candidates that are no longer in the race, like Marco Rubio, Trump will probably still win that state and get all the delegates from there. And then, guys, we don't have another contest for 2 full weeks in Wisconsin. And then after that, we don't have another contest for another 2 full weeks in New York. So you're going to see sort of many versions of Iowa and New Hampshire, early carve-out states, over the course of the next month. Neither one of those states is winner-take-all. Most of the states that are winner-take-all the rest of the way that are claiming to be, like New York and California, are only winner-take-all by congressional district. It's not by a plurality of the statewide vote. So, this is going to go on for a while. If you've looked at this consistently, Donald Trump is in this. We've had 14 contests so far that have been closed, meaning only people that were registered as Republicans could vote. And of the 14 contests that are closed, the average vote total has been Cruz 33.1%, Trump 29.3%. And there's 12 of the 16 remaining contests on the calendar are closed. So, I think this is going to go on for a while. I think, I don't think John Kasich is right about a lot. I think he's right about the likelihood that this is going to be contested at a convention. Trump is way behind the delegate math pace that Mitt Romney was on 4 years ago. Consistently across the board, if you look at the average of the votes, he's got about 2/3 of the Republican electorate consistently voting against him. So I think we're likely going to head to a convention.
And since the convention is in Cleveland, in Kasich's backyard, he's not going to be dropping out anytime soon.
No, I don't know why he would drop out. I do know why he would drop out if he had something bigger than his own ambitions in mind. Because there's three scenarios if you go to a convention. The first scenario is that Trump has the most delegates and wins a convention. I think the likelihood Donald Trump wins any convention at all is very low. I don't care how many delegates he has. I think the likelihood he wins any kind of a contested convention is not very high. And I think he realizes that, which is why him and his surrogates are essentially threatening the Republicans with Chicago 68, because I think they recognize they don't have the on-the-ground delegate organization to probably win this at a convention. The second possibility is they don't do a contested convention, but a brokered convention, or what Cruz likes to call the fever dream of the Washington establishment, where they bring in their own candidate on a white horse and essentially just tell the base and everybody that voted for Trump and Cruz the last 6 months, go fly a kite. And then the third option, which is typically what happens at conventions, is what I like to call the Goldilocks option. And the Goldilocks option is that, maybe the insiders, they have fantasies about bringing in their own white knight, but then recognize that is sort of like scorched earth, burning the village to save it for the future in the fall. And so usually, and when you go to these conventions, a lot of times the candidate that is in the middle, he's not the most radicalized candidate, and he's not the most institutionalized candidate, typically wins in these things because he's the one that can build a consensus. And as crazy as this sounds now, if you have a contested convention and the only three people that can win that are still on the ballot are Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, and John Kasich, well, the Goldilocks candidate in that arrangement is actually Ted Cruz, which nobody would have thought of 6 months ago. And I think you will see that his people will be far better organized than Trump's people will be on the ground, in particularly in states where candidates dropped out. I'd look at a state like Virginia, all right, which Rubio did very well, but he's off the ballot now. So I could see when those delegates get assigned that Cruz ends up with a plurality of delegates out of Virginia when you combine his and Rubio's. And I think you could do that in several states across the board, particularly ones that were proportionally allocated, as a lot of these states in the Republican primary have been.
Yeah, I respectfully disagree with you. Nate Cohn projects Donald Trump right now on pace for 1,300 delegates. I think this doesn't go to a contested convention. I think Trump is going to win this outright. I think a lot of us in this business are kind of underestimating the momentum of a movement and the bandwagoning effect as you pile up states. A lot of the statistics about Trump getting a third of the vote, this is still before the field has winnowed. I think it's just a lot more complicated than that. But let's say that does happen, what you've just described. So Trump has 1,100 delegates instead of 1,237. And Ted Cruz is the nominee. You think Ted Cruz can bring over that Trump movement and have them fold have them fold in line with Ted Cruz, so that you don't have Ted Cruz or whoever the nominee would be fighting a two-front war against Hillary?
Well, first of all, back to what you said a minute ago, we really don't disagree that much, because if you think he's going to get 1,300 delegates, then it goes back to what I just said a moment ago. We're not going to know for sure until June 7th.
Yeah, right.
He would barely get over the threshold then, and that would happen on the last day. The other question that you just asked is a really good one, and it's a little bit more complicated. If you look at Donald Trump's voter profile, the likelihood of him ever winning a general election is probably about the likelihood of of monkeys flying past my window here in the next 10 minutes. I mean, if you look at his negatives, he has the highest negatives of any domestic politician in the history of the ABC News Washington Post poll. He's minus 30 with women. He's got a 77% unfavorability rating with Hispanics. That's almost 2.5 times what Ted Cruz has. So you start looking at all these things. You start looking at how calcified the vote against him is. That the people that are for him are extremely for him, and the people that are against him are extremely against him. That's usually not how to be successful in a convention. Now, I think any candidate that comes out of a convention will have a challenge, obviously, because that meant that they were not able to consolidate the base during the primary process. The one saving grace could be that the Democrats are going to nominate someone who only Donald Trump is more unpopular than, and that is Hillary Clinton. Her numbers, if you nominate someone that coming out of a convention that is not as well known by the public, whose negatives are not as high yet, you have a chance to define that person better in the eyes of the voters than Hillary Clinton, because like Donald Trump, her numbers are what they are. They're not going to move. Because when your candidate, Jeb Bush found this out in his primary, guys, when you're 100% known, you can't change what people's opinions are of you, okay? Yeah. And so that's what that's what Trump is facing as a nominee, and that's what Hillary Clinton is facing as a nominee. And if you saw a race between the two of them, it would end up being the most negative and nastiest race we've ever seen, because neither one of them could really run on their own merit.
Well, that's
They'd have
right.
to attack the other.
That's right, and I would not underestimate Trump in a race to the bottom. All right, he is Steve Deese, the book, A Nefarious Plot, nationally syndicated radio talk show host on the Salem Network. Steve, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Coming up next, an Illinois state lawmaker's daughter was charged Friday in connection with a staple gun attack. We'll speak with the alleged victim. But first, here's your forecast. Plenty of sunshine right now, 32 degrees at O'Hare, going up to a high today of 48 degrees. Then tomorrow, breezy, warmer, partial sunshine, a high of 62. Let's get the travel times. How's that accident in Des Plaines? Here's Jim Telemonte.
Amy, crash affecting things right near Oakton Avenue on 83. So that's everything's open there, but you have a little bit of congestion. Where we have delays, there's the outbound Edens from Montrose to Toohey. The exit to westbound Toohey is closed right now due to a crash. Inbound, just 21 minutes Lake Cook to Montrose, but outbound it's 30 minutes and rising. The Kennedy is 40 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, outbound 35. The Eisenhower, an hour and 18 minutes. Thorndale to downtown, an hour and 3 minutes from Manheim, outbound 39 minutes. The Stevenson, 58 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 39. The Ryan is 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. Northbound Tri-State slow from the Stevenson to 31st, and then from the Reagan Tollway to North Avenue. Adams Tollway stop and go from before Roselle to 53, and the Veterans Memorial has delays from Boughton to the Reagan Tollway. I'm Jim Talamonte, the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
If you have a home to sell that lists between $250,000 and $500,000, Saul Z and the Z team have buyers lined up and ready to pay top dollar so you don't leave money on the table. Saul and his team are so confident that if 29 days pass without a sale, Saul will buy your home or help you rent it. And working with Saul won't obligate you anything, because if you aren't happy, you just cancel the contract. He can offer that because Saul spends thousands of dollars every month to create demand so you get top dollar. For example, Tom from Orland Park listed his home with another agent, and after 13 months, it still wasn't sold. Tom heard about Saul's powerful marketing on the radio, then called Saul, met with him, and listed with Saul at $430,000. Saul sold Tom's home in only 5 days. So make Saul your first call. Recently, the Wall Street Journal ranked Saul number 106 out of more than 1.2 million agents. I know I'll be calling Saul when I'm ready to sell or buy a new home. So go to Call Saul. That's Call Saul, SAUL.net, to get your home sold fast at a great price. Don't leave money on the table. You can also call Saul directly at 888-346-0666. That's 888-346-0666. Or visit him online at callsaul.net and start packing.
Deciding to take charge of your smile and overcome fear or embarrassment is an important moment. Deciding on who to trust to help you through that process can be life-changing. Sure, you can see who's in your insurance plan or go to the local dentist in your neighborhood, but you and your smile deserve a skilled and experienced dentist with a proven track record. That's why Artistic Dentistry should be your first and only call at 708-301-6060. With more than 30 years of combined experience, Dr. Akrush and his team at Artistic Dentistry understands that each patient's needs are different, and they'll customize a plan that's just for you. Their state-of-the-art facility addresses all your dental needs in one location. From Zoom whitening and regular dental checkups to customized dental implants, Artistic Dentistry can give you the smile you've always wanted. Ask about their free Whitening for Life program. Schedule a free consultation today at 708-301-6060 or donewithdentures.com.
The following is a paid political announcement.
When did Republicans lose their backbone, their guts, their conviction? Some will say they stood up to Obama. That's easy. But who stood up to their own party? That's Marlin Stutzman. Marlin said no to the establishment by voting against John Boehner. And he fought sweetheart deals on both sides by voting against the omnibus. Because politicians refuse to get it done, Marlin authored the only conservative budget that actually balances. And to keep the Washington crowd from getting cozy, Marlin is fighting for term limits to toss the career politicians out. It's not good enough to just vote for candidates who say they're conservative. We need leaders who have the guts to act like one. Marlin knows when Republicans bend, America breaks. Stand strong, Marlin. Conservative Marlin Stutzman for Senate.
I'm Marlin Stutzman, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Stutzman for Senate.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy. So, Amy, Finley Peter Dunn, Chicago writer, famously said politics ain't beanbag. And our next guest is living proof of that. He is Bob Swolinski. He was a Democratic candidate for state representative in the 4th District, which is like the Westtown, Humboldt Park, Wicker Park area, running against incumbent Cynthia Soto. He lost the race last Tuesday, but he got stapled in the forehead to boot.
He lost the race, but he might have won a fight, or
it didn't look like he won the fight from the pictures I saw. Bob, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you guys doing?
Good. So a couple days before the election, you had a bit of an altercation, allegedly, with a couple of ambassadors from your opponent's campaign. And what exactly happened?
Yeah, ambassadors is a very elegant word to use in that regard. It was just an altercation. I caught them red-handed putting out posters of Cynthia Soto on my campaign office. I just confronted them, and things escalated, and there was a lot of passion involved. And once I found out on Thursday night, so 2 days after election, who the individuals were, it all kind of made sense.
Yeah,
right,
it was
there in the spot.
Cynthia Soto's daughter, Jessica, and her boyfriend. What exactly happened? Because they're claiming that you stapled yourself in the head with the staple gun and that you punched yourself.
Yeah, I think people watch too much. I think they watch too much House of Cards, to be honest with you. Yeah, they attacked, and they both attacked very, very, very viciously attacked, I would say, with a lot of passion behind it. Now kind of knowing a lot about Cynthia Soto's daughter, Jessica, this is be her 4th battery case, one involving a beer bottle, which she used on me as well, so...
Some anger issues.
What did she do with the beer bottle?
Oh, she hit me in the nose. Broke my nose.
Oh, she hit you in the nose and broke your nose with the beer bottle. She and her boyfriend, $25,000 bond in order not to go near you. So that's some good news for you, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it's also, thank God they didn't have a hole punch. You could have wound up in a binder somewhere. So Cynthia Soto's daughter. This is Soto territory. You reported that she said, and you're not welcome. This was a Democrat primary. You're a young man in kind of a young area of the city, and so what does that say about, or what does it say? So what's your view of the Chicago Democrat Party after your experience?
Well, my view, of let's just put it, career politicians who've held on to power for 16 years is why I want to enter this race. Was career politicians will go at all lengths to keep that power, and this is just proof of that. They all base, Jessica Soto, this is public information, Jessica Soto got her job at Jesse White's office based on a recommendation by her mother. Yeah. So, as well as our other daughter got a job at Metro by recommendation of her mother. So this just shows you the lengths these individuals are willing to go to keep power at all costs.
Yeah, but that's so extreme what she did. It was so violent. They said that you were trying to stop them from putting up the sign and you ripped up the sign, destruction of property.
I mean, it was on my office, so I tore down the sign that was on my office. So.
Okay, is that legal? Well, hey, are you going to require?
It's his private property. Yeah.
Are you going to need plastic surgery, and are you going to file a civil suit?
Oh, those things, everything's being taken into consideration right now. I got the stitches taken out on Friday evening, so I do have a scar. So
the Soto scar, you could call it.
Yeah, you can call it that, or Frankenstein scar, if you want to call it that too. So,
all right, Bob Zwolinski, okay. I've got you have two choices. You can come over to the Republican Party, or the next time you run, make sure to wear catcher's gear. Bob Zwolinski.
I'll do catcher's gear.
There you go. All right, Bob Zwolinski, candidate for state rep in the 4th District. Thanks for joining us. Good luck to you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
And now, a moment of objectivism with Yaron Brook and the Ayn Rand Institute.
People say the government needs to fight income inequality, but what does that mean? Let's say you wanted equality in basketball. Now, how are you going to make me and LeBron James equal? I mean, here's one of the best basketball players in the world, someone who's spent years developing his skills and who obviously has some physical advantages. So how are you going to make us equal? Well, you could tie LeBron's hands behind his back, but even that wouldn't do it. I'm really bad at basketball. Basically, you'd have to break his legs too. Making people equal means resorting to physical force. It means breaking legs. That can't be right. To learn more, visit ARIradio.com. From the Ayn Rand Institute, I'm Yaron Brook.
This has been a moment of objectivism from the Ayn Rand Institute. To learn more, listen to the Yaron Brook Show, Saturdays at 4 on AM 560, and visit ARIradio.com.
Why are Ayn Rand's ideas so compelling? Her worldview, her philosophy, expressed dramatically in her novels Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead, embodies the ideals stated by the Founding Fathers in the Declaration of Independence and sets forth the requirements necessary to achieve a flourishing life. She called her philosophy objectivism and said it was a philosophy for living on Earth. Today, decades after her death, objectivism continues to stir debate and inspire passion for the spirit of individualism and the enduring American dream.
Congratulations to all who took the Balance of Nature New Year's Challenge. Success stories are pouring in. So many people have been helped through this incentive that I have asked Balance of Nature to continue this challenge for as long as possible.
I do feel slightly better. I can't explain it. It's like underlying. I can't explain it. I broke my leg twice, my left leg, and it used to bother me, but now it's not bothering me that much. I mean, I also bowl on Friday nights. I mean, it used to kill me, but now I find that I could do that and without being in any discomfort.
Good health is just a phone call away. What are you waiting for? Call now and take the health challenge to get a free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
Fox News Radio. I'm Dave Anthony. He wants Republicans to unite around him.
I will be the most presidential president this country has ever had, except for honest Abe Lincoln.
And today, Donald Trump will meet with nearly 24 GOP leaders. Now, the FBI is working with the Secret Service investigating a threatening letter Donald Trump's sister got. She's a federal judge in Philadelphia. Trump's son, Eric, also got a threatening letter last week. Later today, Trump and his rival presidential candidates will address a pro-Israel gathering. Fox's Jared Halpern live at the AIPAC conference in Washington.
All three Republican candidates will address thousands of Jewish and pro-Israel voters here at the Verizon Center, a basketball and hockey arena. Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton will be first up, however. She speaks later this hour in a speech expected to be an aggressive attack on the GOP frontrunner Donald Trump. Warning aides say that the next commander-in-chief must be a steady hand and not unpredictable. Dozens of rabbis and faith leaders here do plan to boycott Trump's evening speech. Dave.
Now, Jared, President Obama is in Cuba.
The president believes that this historic visit to Cuba is a win-win for both countries.
Having a U.S. embassy here means that we're able to more effectively advance our interests and our values and understand the Cuban people.
The president, in just a few hours, will meet with his Cuban counterpart, Raul Castro, where he'll press him for political reforms. The Cuban government, however, has largely ignored this effort, arresting numerous political dissidents just ahead of the president's arrival here. Traveling with the president in Havana, John Decker, Fox News.
A Durham, North Carolina police officer was shot early this morning by a suspect he'd just brought into a county jail. The officer's fine, just had minor injuries. It's not clear how the suspect got the gun. Spring may have sprung, but in Boston, it's like winter. Shoveling quite a bit of snow. Some parts of Massachusetts could get 10 inches. Areas of New Hampshire and Maine can get a lot of snow. Too many schools in the region are closed. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Mostly sunny skies this morning. We have 33 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Mike Scott. Police are questioning a person of interest after an off-duty officer was shot on the far south side. Police say two suspects tried to rob the officer early this morning near 101st and Green. Gunfire was exchanged. The offenders fled the scene. The officer was hospitalized but is expected to survive. Chicago police say a 7-year-old boy died after accidentally shooting himself on the south side. Shooting happened yesterday inside a home near Aberdeen and Marquette. Child suffering a gunshot wound to the head and was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. A Park Forest police officer remains hospitalized after he was wounded in a shootout with a burglary suspect. Officer Timothy Jones was shot Saturday while responding to a break-in at a vacant home. The suspect, identified as Thurman Reynolds, was killed in a gunfight. It's anybody's guess this morning when voters who were turned away after a ballot shortage last week in a western Illinois county will get to revote. Following a judge's ruling that Adams County voters who did not get to vote can do so this week during an emergency late voting period, it's since been announced that voting will not happen today because of a motion filed by the Attorney General's office in appellate court. A lawyer for the Attorney General appeared in Adams County Court on Friday to try and vacate the initial granting of that late period. That motion was denied. Several other spots in the state had ballot shortage issues last week, including in St. Clair and Sangamon counties. Chicago sports, NHL. Wild over the Blackhawks in a shootout, 3-2. Women's college tournament basketball, an NCAA win for DePaul over Louisville, 73-72. The news, a service of InvisibleFence.com. Protect your pets with Invisible Fence brand. Keep them in the yard, away from the pool, and off the furniture. Invisible Fence brand has the answer to training your pets at InvisibleFence.com. Invisible Fence brand can install in any weather, rain or shine. Visit InvisibleFence.com. 8:04, time to check the climate of your business with AirComfort.com. And time for the AM 560 Business Beat, service of Turnkey.pro. From the Fox Business Network, here's Jenny Casola.
From the Fox Business Network, Marriott is back to buying Starwood Hotels. Its deal was off after China's Anbang Insurance Group offered $13.2 billion, but now Marriott has countered, offering $13.6 billion, and Starwood has accepted. Starwood includes Westin, Sheraton, W Hotels, among others. Starwood Hotels has also received the okay from the Treasury Department to renovate and operate a couple of hotels in Cuba. Airbnb will start offering rooms to all tourists in Cuba beginning April 2nd. Sherwin-Williams' purchase of Valstar means the company will be selling you paint at Home Depot, Lowe's, and Walmart. The big home improvement chains have been taking business away from independent paint stores which sell Sherwin-Williams. And Apple's big launch today is expected to unveil the smaller and cheaper SE. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Jenny Cosola.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
In our culture today, by and large, we have abandoned a very valuable and financially profitable word.
Dave Ramsey.
A word that will change your life. No. Pull it out of the recesses of your mind. Install it back in the dictionaries that don't require political correctness. No, you can't buy that car. No, you can't afford it.
The Dave Ramsey Show. Weeknights starting at 7, right before Michael Medved at 10. Presented by Wintrust Community Bank on AM 560. The Answer.
Not available in California.
Listeners, do you have startup capital and want to invest in a business with incredible profit potential? Fresh Healthy Vending, the #1 healthy vending franchise in North America, is growing fast, and we're looking for people right here in the local area to become Fresh Healthy Vending franchise owners and help our business continue to boom. If this sounds like you, we'll send you a free owner information kit. As an added bonus to new franchise owners, we'll also pay half the franchise fees. Just go to readyforfresh.com and enter code 5000. That's readyforfresh.com, code 5000.
I recently received my doctorate in astronomy, so mapping trans-Neptunian planets is a cakewalk. But tracking the trajectory of my financial future? Not so much. Fortunately, I've got TIAA. They helped me figure out a long-term personalized plan for my finances that I'm, well, over the moon about.
See how we're helping those who do good do well at the new TIAA.org. TIAA. Built to perform.
This is an announcement for all people who want to take a risk-free challenge to whiten their teeth in 5 minutes using clinically proven power swabs. This risk-free challenge is for people whose smile has been yellowed by coffee, tea, or smoking. It's so effective, we challenge you to try it for 5 minutes to see how white your smile could be. If lines are busy, try again. Dial 1-800-663-1592. That's 1-800-663-1592. 1-800-663-1592.
8:07 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. The Eden says outbound delays from Montrose to 2E. The ramp to westbound 2E is blocked right now due to a police investigation. And there are delays Dempster to Lake Avenue with some construction. It's 40 minutes. Montrose to Lake Cook, inbound 21. Kennedy, 45 minutes. O'Hare to downtown. There's a crash at Nagel in the left lane. 30 minutes from Montrose, 25 on the express. Outbound 35 minutes to the airport. The Eisenhower's an hour and 18 minutes. Thorndale to downtown. An hour and 3 minutes from Manheim. Outbound 39 minutes to Thorndale. Stevenson, 48 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 39. Ryan is 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. Delays on the northbound Tri-State are from the Stevenson to 31st and from the Reagan Tollway to North Avenue. Adams Tollway stop and go from before Roselle to 53, then Elmhurst to Lee. Reagan Tollway heavy Farnsworth to Eola. Veterans Memorial from Boughton to the Reagan Tollway. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center. AirComfort.com, 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. Here's meteorologist Kevin Snyder.
Today, partly sunny, high 49. Tonight, mostly cloudy, low 40. Breezy and warmer tomorrow with partial sunshine, high 61. Cloudy at night with a passing late night shower or two, low tomorrow night 41. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
Currently, we have 34 degrees at O'Hare, 36 along the lakefront. Next news at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the New American Funding Show, walking you through stress-free mortgage options. Sunday afternoons at 1 on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning. Welcome to your Monday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
So let's set the tone for everybody at home. How many of you have a positive impression of Donald Trump? Raise your hands. None of you. How many of you have a positive impression of Hillary Clinton? Raise your hands. None of you.
Why is your campaign manager out in the crowd engaging protesters? This is the second incident.
Well, you know what? Because the security at the arena, the police were a little bit lax.
Donald is in a difficult position because in a two-man race, he has a very hard time breaking 50%. So our path forward is to win primaries going forward.
Everybody's got to face the fact that we're going to an open, multi-ballot convention. That's where we're headed. And the convention is an extension of what we're going through right now.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. With the eve of the Arizona primary, it seems like a good time to recall the specific problems related to illegal immigration. And at the top of the list is violent criminals who continue to come into our country, get arrested, sometimes get deported and come right back, sometimes just get released back into the population and commit another crime. We've had high-profile cases like the Kate Steinle case. We played on Friday an exchange between Nebraska Senator Ben Sasse and ICE Director Sarah Saldana about a vehicular homicide in Nebraska. And now ICE and local police don't know where that individual is who is in this country illegally. And I want to go back because this show has what most shows don't, which is institutional memory. Ted Cruz and that same ICE Director, Sarah Saldana, last July, talking about the number of violent criminals, just violent criminals, that are released each year in this country that are here illegally.
Ms. Saldana, I want to note that your testimony here, when I ask you how many criminals ICE released in 2013, you were off by a factor of 3. You said 30,000. The correct answer is 104,000. There were 68,000.
104,000. 104,000 in 2013. And one of the gentlemen who's been on the front lines on this issue specifically, who will be joined with momentarily, is Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio. But before we bring Sheriff Arpaio on, or Sheriff Joe, I think as he's known by the country, Bernie Sanders, Comrade Bernie.
Oh, yeah. Doesn't like Sheriff Joe.
Had some choice words for Sheriff Joe when he sat down with an NBC affiliate in Arizona.
It wasn't scheduled. She didn't plan it, but he showed up. My question is...
let me just tell you something. What Joe Arpaio is doing is an outrage. My wife went to look at the so-called tent city, which is something that should not exist. The fact that he crashed her meeting is, to me, very, very wrong, not something that he should have done.
All right. And now we'll give...
so did he crash the party? Is this a new party crasher here?
Sheriff Joe in his tent city an opportunity to respond. Sheriff of Maricopa County, Arizona, Joe Arpaio. Sheriff Joe, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, what's he saying? I can't crash my own airplane? I run the jails. I mean, I can't even go into my own jails. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's strictly politics. Forgot to say that he said... Bernie said that I'm picking on people, but I don't have the power to fight back. And then this is very, very strange. He said when he's elected president, he'll have the power. And then was it a threat? Then he says, "Watch out, Joe." What does that mean? Watch out, Joe. What was he talking about? I went in there. She was in front of my jail, my tent city jail. I was right down the street. I happened to approach her. She's a very nice lady. Started making some allegations about the heat. I invited her in. She agreed to come in, and she talked to the inmates. She could say whatever she wanted. I answered all her questions except when she went into a civil lawsuit pending. So that's that. So that's kind of strange that Sanders is making those comments.
Yeah, so you treated her fairly, and I've been to that same tent city. It's a really nice setup you have, so I can't see why she would bash it at all after she went for a tour.
She wasn't bashing it. He was bashing it. I guess he must have had a little argument with her for even going into this tents. But I've had 4 presidential candidates in the past visit the tents. I'd let anybody visit the tents. Doesn't matter.
For those of our listeners who are not familiar with the tent city, please describe it. What's the purpose of it?
Well, I put the tents up when I took office. I made that promise when I ran for office in 1992. 6 months later, after I took office, was able to get some Korean War tents. That's what I wanted, free. And put the tents up near the dump, the dog pound, and the waste disposal plant because that's the free land we had. And there've been, tent's been going 23 years. It gets hot in the summer. I understand that, but our men and women, as I always say, fight for our country. They're living in tents, so they don't like it. But they're all convicted. Jane Sanders had the wrong information again when she was surprised when I said that they're not waiting to go to trial. They have been convicted. Your guy, Luis Gutierrez, up there, I believe he's your congressman.
Not our guy.
He keeps saying that I should resign. I think he saw the inside of jail once in a while. So and I don't think it was a tour.
Well, you've had a busy weekend. 3 people arrested in your hometown of Fountain Hills, Arizona. They're trying to block the road. And then in Tucson, Arizona. What do you think of this whole Trump phenomena? And is his rhetoric creating these protesters to get out of hand?
No. He can't make a few remarks. When in a rally, you're supposed to be able to talk. So, no, they blame him for everything. It's really sad. What about the former president of Mexico, Vicente Fox, when he made some bad remarks against Trump? Where was the uproar in our country when you allow someone else to make those, remarks on someone running for presidency? There's a double standard here. Everybody knows that. That's why Trump is going to win.
What and why are you supporting Donald Trump for president?
Well, I never met him until I kicked off the first rally in July, 1 month after he announced, and there's about 10,000 people there. I'm probably the only guy that would stand next to him at the time. But I like what I saw. I had gut feelings on people. I've supported many people running for president and campaign manager honorary for 2 of them. So I think I know a little about how people have campaigns when they were running for president. So my gut just tells me he's the right person for the right time. And I've done introductions of him at least 6 times. I endorsed him 6 weeks ago in Marshalltown, Iowa, and I was with him at my hometown this weekend, Fountain Hills, Arizona, where some demonstrators try to block thousands of people from going into the rally, but I took care of that. I happen to be the law enforcement guy for that town, too. They contract us and locked up 3 people, and the rally continued, and it was a great, great rally, and he got his message across. I believe over 20,000 were there. In fact, I could even see my house from there. That's how close I was.
Now, Sheriff Joe, did you personally arrest those 3?
No, I didn't personally.
Yeah.
No.
I
had a lot of deputies there to take care of business. We were not going to stop that rally like they did up in Chicago. No way. If I had to bring an army down there, I would have done it.
And I think, Sheriff Joe, too, I think your endorsement pushed Scott Baio over the top to endorse Donald Trump, too. I mean, you and Scott Baio, you and Chachi are Charles in charge. How about that?
Who was that?
Exactly. That's the correct
Fonzie's
answer.
cousin on Happy Days.
Yeah.
All right. So when you in your jail, I want to explain. You would explain it better about how anyone who's there illegally and has been arrested is in a separate unit than the American citizens. But once they're released, you hand them directly over to ICE, and how does it work?
This is a good question. You mentioned Cruz, and I for 18 months, every month, I've been taking statistics in the jail. Those violating the state local laws, but they come into the jail and they happen to be here illegally, over 8,500. Every month, the media will not talk about it. And those 8,500 we turned over to ICE, immigration, to be deported. Over 3,000 have come back to the same jails that I run. This one guy came back 24 times. That's a big story. They keep talking about 160 murders were released. What about what I'm talking about? That proves, I got the stats. This isn't just talk by politicians. So that's sad. Either they're going across the border and keep coming back, which I doubt, 22 times. No, they're being let out on the streets. And then they commit other crimes and keep coming back. So I think that's a very sad situation right now that nobody will face.
All right, he is Sheriff Joe Arpaio, of course, the Sheriff of Maricopa County, Arizona. And Sheriff Joe, a prediction on tomorrow's election?
Well, of course, it's going to be Trump. Come on.
There you go. All right, come on. Sheriff Joe Arpaio, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I'm putting that on your bucket list.
Tent City?
Tent City, when
For
you go
as
to
long as
Arizona.
Sheriff Joe's there to protect me.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
he's great. And he's been there. He's 83 years old, and he's been there since 1993. And he's up for re-election, and guess the Democrat that they're throwing up against him? Involved in a sex scandal. Yeah. Anyway, here's your...
I'm so glad you didn't say Sheriff Joe.
No, not him. Partly sunny later today. Sunshine right now. A high of 48 degrees is what we'll get to. And we are at a 33 degrees right now. And tomorrow, much, much warmer. We'll have some mostly sunny skies and a high in the low 60s. Travel times, here's Jim Telemonte.
Thanks, Amy. The inbound Edens is 21 minutes. Lake Hook to Montrose, but outbound 40. The ramp to westbound 2 is closed for police investigation. Then it's slow Dempster to Lake Avenue with some moving road work. Inbound Kennedy at Nagel, there's a crash blocking the left lane and debris which is blocking the blue line tracks. Trains are stopped. It's 50 minutes O'Hare to downtown on the Kennedy. Outbound 35. The Eisenhower, an hour and 18 minutes. Thorndale to downtown. Outbound 39 minutes. Stevenson, 48 minutes. 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound 39. Ryan is 30 minutes. 95th to downtown. Southbound Lakeshore Drive, heavy Irving Park to North Avenue and 18th to the Stevenson. Northbound from the Stevenson to Jackson. Delays on the eastbound Reagan Tollway from Farnsworth to Eola and Highland to Midwest. There's a stall on the right side. Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
So how do you feel this morning? I feel great because I got an awesome night's sleep with MyPillow. I know you hear me rave about MyPillow, but it really is the best pillow in the market. And if you still aren't sleeping on a MyPillow, why not? You'll feel more rested. You'll have a better day. If you experience headaches, neck pain, insomnia, allergies, MyPillow can make a difference. You have to try MyPillow to really experience the benefits. It is a premium pillow with 4 different loft levels to fit you. Washable, so it keeps its shape and supports you where you need it most. That's why it's the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation. American made. Act now and get 2 MyPillows for the price of one for you, and give the other as a gift. It's the best offer. So visit MyPillow.com, type in Amy in the promo code, or call 800-489-0201. That's 800-489-0201. Or online at MyPillow.com, promo code Amy.
On AM 560 The Answer, we talk about the important issues that affect your world. Things like the economy, education, and foreign policy. There's always so much going on in the news that we don't always have the time to drill down and talk about the big ideas behind the big issues. That's where Upstream Ideas comes in. Upstream Ideas, online at upstream-ideas.com, in partnership with the Illinois Policy Institute, provides the kind of information that informs the policy discussions happening here on AM 560. At Upstream Ideas, you'll broaden the debate, move beyond partisan assumptions, and challenge accepted orthodoxies. In other words, Upstream Ideas goes against the current and thinks upstream. Go online now to upstream-ideas.com. That's upstream-ideas.com. You'll be armed with new information and fresh perspectives to spur you on to make the state of Illinois and the United States of America a bit more free, a bit more just, and a bit more civilized. Upstream-ideas.com. The following is a paid political announcement.
When did Republicans lose their backbone, their guts, their conviction? Some will say they stood up to Obama. That's easy. But who stood up to their own party? That's Marlin Stutzman. Marlin said no to the establishment by voting against John Boehner. And he fought sweetheart deals on both sides by voting against the omnibus. Because politicians refuse to get it done, Marlin authored the only conservative budget that actually balances. And to keep the Washington crowd from getting cozy, Marlin is fighting for term limits to toss the career politicians out. It's not good enough to just vote for candidates who say they're conservative. We need leaders who have the guts to act like one. Marlin knows when Republicans bend, America breaks. Stand strong, Marlin. Conservative Marlin Stutzman for Senate.
I'm Marlin Stutzman, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Stutzman for Senate.
Grandview Capital buys homes. If you have a home to sell and it has problems, we will make you a no-obligation cash offer and close fast. If your home is badly outdated, we will buy it. Water damage, mold, or junk up to the rafters, we will buy your home as is. If you have a home that is vacant or soon to be, and you want to avoid the exhausting and stressful ordeal of maintaining it, paying taxes on it, or attempting to sell it, let Grandview buy your home today. We'll give you a fair offer with no obligation, pay you cash, and close on your timetable. Leave the stress and the mess to us. To sell your distressed or vacant home quickly with no commissions and without repairs, call Grandview at 1-800-USA-HOMES. We will buy your home today. Call 1-800-USA-HOMES or visit gvcproperty.com. That's gvcproperty.com. Call the name you can trust, Grandview Capital, accredited by the Better Business Bureau.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy are just talking to Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who given us the specifics on the immigration, the illegal immigration problem he faces on a daily It faces daily. I cannot speak.
Hey, speak. You know what?
In
you know why?
Arizona.
Because you've got basketballitis. I've noticed that. You watch too many. Did you watch every single basketball game?
Absolutely. That's what you do.
That's what you do when duty
you
calls.
love the world's greatest game. And so we're talking to Sheriff Joe, and also he predicting a Trump victory tomorrow.
Yes.
Of course, he said. Wouldn't even deign to give me a percentage.
No.
Just of course.
It's just going to happen. Well, it's a winner take all state. I think Trump's going to win.
Noel in the loop. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. How are you guys?
Morning.
I just wanted to make a really quick point. I'm driving to work, and I'm hearing the gentleman, Sheriff Joe, say that it's a double standard because Donald Trump is being blamed 100% for the quote-unquote violence breaking out. It's funny how he should mention a double standard when he wouldn't mention at all any of the times that Donald Trump at his rallies has stated not only, hey, I would love to punch that guy in the face, or, hey, get that guy out of here, take his coat. If you guys see a guy protesting, knock him out, and we'll gladly pay for the legal fees.
Right.
Now, I understand that that's not exactly, telling one specific person to do something, but he has hundreds of thousands, even probably millions of people that are watching him, thanks to the media, of course. But it is a huge double standard to say that he has no responsibility when he is actually the one pointing at his followers to do this violence against people that are at his rallies. Mind you, protesting within their First Amendment right.
Yeah, although they don't necessarily have the right to be at a private rally. But your point is well taken. Thanks for the call, Noel. We talked about this earlier. The one thing that is just curious to me is his campaign manager's involvement in these dust-ups. Corey Lewandowski, who was involved and caught on video at a rally in Tucson over the weekend, where, it's difficult to say, did he grab somebody and was it a serious physical confrontation? But the point is, why is the campaign manager for a candidate for president in the crowd dealing in a hand-to-hand way with attendees to a rally? It's just,
and he
that's
was picking
why you
on
have
a
security.
guy, and too, he was picking on a guy half his size, and I saw him yank his collar back. I don't know if you saw that, but apparently,
he should never be there.
Well, he used to be a New Hampshire state trooper. For
He's
a year.
He's not a New Hampshire state trooper anymore. He's a campaign manager for the leading candidate for president of the United States. You have Secret Service there. You have security that you hire. If you have an issue with someone, then you point to professional security and police and Secret Service and say, we've got to deal with that matter. It makes no sense for him to be involved in those
He wants
matters.
to be part of the scrum. I mean, that's what it is.
Sean in Elmwood Park,
Strange.
quickly.
I wish they'd try to throw me around. I really, really do. But if Sheriff Joe doesn't exemplify the quintessential Trump Krishna, I like what I saw, and I have a gut feeling. Oh, well, tell me more, DeMontesquieu. It isn't his stance on individual rights, liberty, and the unalienable rights given to us by God, and that government should be of, for, and by the people, and subservient to the people. That's not why you support him? Really, Sheriff Joe? Because you know who Sheriff Joe is? He's the relative who comes over to your house and changes the color on your TV. So sit down in the corner and shut up, old man. I don't want you touching anything or saying anything, dummy. You let me do the thinking, and you just do the arresting, moron.
Sean, I'm going to tell Sheriff Joe what you said. You better lock your doors at night.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Hi, I'm Lex Howard, CEO of Balance of Nature. I occasionally take new customer calls, and often people tell me that they have been hearing our advertisements for years. What are you waiting for? Start now and begin experiencing the benefits of Balance of Nature in your life.
I actually believe that it is working because I went to have my thyroid TSH level checked and my T3 and 4, and in October originally it was at 3. My TSH was at 3.28, and Monday's test came out to 0.63. I do believe that it has something to do with it.
Good health is just a phone call away. What are you waiting for? Call now and take the health challenge to get a free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
If you're in business, you know the importance of communications, and telephony and internet services can mean success and profits. Chicago-based Innovative Networks is a complete provider of high-tech voice and data services that allow your phones and data to efficiently follow you anywhere, in the office or across the world. For companies of all sizes and industries, Innovative Networks provides state-of-the-art equipment, installation, and maintenance for a minimal monthly fee. Your company can enjoy the benefits of superior communications and greater profits. Innovative Networks is offering AM 560 listeners with a business this special deal. Pay zero upfront plus 80% savings over major providers. For your free business communications consultation, call Innovative Networks, an accredited and award-winning Better Business Bureau service provider, at 855-GO-4-INET, or visit go4inet.com. That's 855-GO-4-INET. Innovative Networks, communication, technology, and reliability for Chicagoland business. 855-GO-4-INET.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, Sean Trendy's going to be here from Real Clear Politics. But first, let's go into the newsroom and check in once again with Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, sunshine, 34 degrees. President Barack Obama beginning the first full day of his trip to Cuba as the first U.S. president in nearly 90 years to visit the island. He spoke with Good Morning America about a major announcement.
Google has a deal to start setting up more Wi-Fi access and broadband access on the island.
Today, the president also sits down with Cuba's president, Raul Castro. A U.S. judge is urging the Obama administration to protect from public disclosure federal court records involving the once secret criminal history of a former Donald Trump business partner. Felix Sater is a Trump business associate who pleaded guilty in a major mafia-linked stock fraud scheme in the 1990s. And then cooperated with government prosecutors. Even after learning about Sater's background, Trump tapped him for a business development deal in 2010 that included the title of senior advisor. All the Republican and Democratic presidential candidates, except for Bernie Sanders, will address America's leading pro-Israel group today, the AIPAC conference. Tonight, Trump speaks while Hillary Clinton has a morning slot. Police in Turkey are searching for 3 suspected ISIS militants who they believe are planning to carry out more sensational acts in the country. Turkey has been rocked by 6 major suicide bombings. Flights have resumed at the Russian airport, where a Dubai plane crashed while trying to land Saturday, killing all 62 on board. South Korea's military trying to determine whether 5 projectiles fired today by Pyongyang were actually missiles or just artillery or rockets. Hotel giant Marriott merging with Starwood Hotels and Resorts after appearing to be outbid. Starwood said last week it would accept a bid from the Chinese insurance group Angbang, but instead now will merge with Marriott. Police in Chicago are questioning a person of interest after an off-duty officer was shot on the far south side. An investigation continues after a man was shot by an off-duty police officer on the northwest side. Authorities say the officer was patting down a suspect Saturday night when another man began hitting him in the back with a bat. Multiple shots were then fired at the suspect, who was hospitalized in critical condition. And U.S. Senator Mark Kirk, the first Republican to break rank and call for a vote on President Obama's Supreme Court justice pick. The president last week nominated Judge Merrick Garland to replace recently deceased Justice Antonin Scalia. Kirk released a statement telling fellow senators to, quote, man up, end quote, and vote. Chicago sports in the NHL. The Wild over the Blackhawks in a shootout, 3-2. Women's tournament college basketball, DePaul moves on with a win over Louisville, 73-72. The news service of InvisibleFence.com. Protect your pets with Invisible Fence brand. Keep them in the yard, away from the pool, and off the furniture. Invisible Fence brand has the answer to training your pets at InvisibleFence.com. Invisible Fence brand can install in any weather, rain or shine. Visit InvisibleFence.com. 8:35 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher does the math after many Super Tuesday.
Ted Cruz needs to win about 75% of the remaining votes in order to get the 1,237. Trump needs to get anywhere between 50 and 60% of the remaining votes, somewhere in that ballpark. It's mathematics. It's just math. And anything could happen.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Through Wheaton College Graduate School's modular MA in Intercultural Studies, you'll train with our globally connected community on the latest methods for careers in cross-cultural ministry. Apply at wheaton.edu/crosscultural.
Business moves at the speed of trust. Trust in your product, and just as imperative, trust in those that represent your business. For almost 3 decades, Flex Execs has assisted their clients in becoming more competitive by identifying the right talent for interim assignments or special projects at the mid to senior level. Flex Exec's roster of talent is superior and unmatched. Flex Execs will help you meet your deadlines, goals, control cost, and place the right people who will deliver desired results. Business moves at the speed of trust. Trust the people that represent your business. You can't afford not to. Connect online with Flex Execs at flexexecs.com or call 630-655-0563 and ask for Chris Swanson or Karen Murphy. Flex Execs, moving business at the speed of trust. Call 630-655-0563 or visit them online at flexexecs.com.
It is 8:37 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. The latest with Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. Due to a crash on the Kennedy Expressway, Blue Line trains are not running right now. Between O'Hare and Jefferson Park, there's debris on the tracks from that crash. There are shuttle buses in place. You can take the 88 Higgins as an alternate. The Kennedy itself still has a left lane blocked at Nagel due to that collision. It's 55 minutes O'Hare to downtown, 40 from Montrose, 30 in the Express, outbound 45 minutes to the airport. Edens, 21 minutes Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 45. The exit to westbound 2 is closed for police investigation. The Eisenhower, an hour and 20 minutes, Thorndale to downtown, outbound 41 minutes. Stevenson, 48 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 36. The Rhine is 30 minutes, 95 to downtown. Northbound Tri-State heavy from the Stevenson to 31st and from the Reagan to North Avenue. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center. AirComfort.com, 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. Partly sunny today, a high near 48. 33 at O'Hare, 36 along the lakefront. This morning it is 30 in Aurora. Your next news update is at 9, and Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is sponsored by Financial Planning with Jack Taboda, your 401k specialist. Heard Saturday mornings at 7 right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, before you read about it on Facebook or Twitter, well, hear about it from your friends. Find out what today's big stories really mean with me, Sean Hannity, today at 2, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, so a lot of people don't believe Trump could win a general election against Hillary. Difficult to say who is more unpopular and less trustworthy in the minds of the American electorate at any given time. But there's this. The question is, can Trump truly break the Democrats' blue wall? Now, the blue wall is this term that's used by politicos, and it refers to the 18 states, plus the District of Columbia, that Democrats have won in presidential elections, the past 6 presidential elections. That gives them 242 electoral votes, which gives them some flexibility in terms of combinations of other states that could get them to the magic 270. But included there, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Minnesota. and along with Ohio and Iowa, the argument made by Trump supporters, and frankly, I'm not unsympathetic to this argument, is that the Trump movement puts these heartland states, 2/3 of which have been in that kind of part of the Democrats' blue wall, puts them in play. Now, the flip side is you have these anomalies because of the nature of Trump's polarizing movement and candidacy that have Utah in play. I mean, this is there's a survey out, Red State posted it this morning, survey out that has Hillary in a fictional matchup with Trump, Hillary up 38-36. I mean, basically a dead heat. You figure on balance, Trump probably ends up winning. Any Republican could and would and should. Utah, one of the five, maybe the top Republican state in the country. The idea that that could be competitive shows you just how much the electoral map could change if it is the two most disliked people in the country as the nominees of their respective parties. But for more on this, we're joined by Sean Trende. He's a senior elections analyst for RealClearPolitics.com. Sean, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So what about that question? How do you look at the Democrats' blue wall and the possibility that Trump could make an incursion there like we haven't seen from a Republican since Reagan?
Well, I think there's two questions there that have to be separated. As far as the idea of the blue wall goes, I think it's a Democratic fantasy. It has to do with the popular vote and the mood of the nation. And quite frankly, Democrats have had a pretty good playing field since 1992. If you ask yourself, which election did the Democrats win that they should have lost since 1992, you say maybe 2012, but even that was kind of close on the fundamentals. Barack Obama had a 50% approval rating, so that wasn't the year that Wisconsin was going to go Republican. The second question, can Trump do this, I think, is a Trump supporter fantasy or a Republican fantasy. The idea that these states can be put into play with someone with blue-collar appeal is very real. It has, however, to be someone who can appeal to downscale blue-collar voters without sending suburbanites fleeing, which is what Trump is going to do probably.
Now, do you believe John Kasich when he says that there's going to be an open multi-ballot convention?
You know, there's irony here. I mean, I think there could be, but not if John Kasich keeps going.
Yeah, right.
You know, that is the problem, is that John Kasich, a lot of these states are winner-take-all states, and John Kasich is splitting the anti-Trump vote with Ted Cruz, and so he helps Trump gain delegates. If John Kasich stays into the end, Trump will probably have the 1237 he needs to clinch the nomination on the first ballot.
So if it is Trump versus Hillary, for the Trump supporter, or for the person that's going to hold their nose and vote for whoever the Republican nominee is, what about this idea that, look, in 2012, you had a good person who was relatively well-liked, I mean, in terms of kind of on a personal level, in Mitt Romney, and Barack Obama was successful in making the election not a referendum on the incumbent, him, but a referendum on the challenger. He made Mitt Romney box office poison, or enough so to squeeze out a victory. Why, in a race to the bottom, couldn't Trump be more effective at vilifying Hillary than Hillary at vilifying Trump?
Well, I think, look, Hillary is a badly flawed candidate. There's no doubt about that. And I think if Trump had, taken it up to 8 instead of 11 on some of the outrageous statements, you could make that case. But the bottom line is that he's alienated just about everyone except blue-collar whites along the way. If someone asks you if you disavow David Duke's support, you do it on the spot, and I don't care if he says he has a misfiring earpiece. I've done a lot of television and radio hits, and if you hear Mavid Mook through your earpiece, you say, I don't like it. So,
right. Just on the safe side, I get it.
Yeah, he's just alienated too many people to win that race to the bottom, I think. I mean, stranger things have happened, and a lot of people have written Trump off to their own detriment, but it's just hard to see it happening in a general election.
And going on with Donald Trump, his campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, what is going on there? How come Donald Trump can't control his own campaign manager?
There's just so much to follow with Trump, and I will admit I don't know all the nuances of this one. I know the story that the campaign manager grabbed a reporter for Breitbart and hurt her arm. I mean, look, the problem is that Trump has, and I understand that there's more stories since then, the problem is that Trump has kind of cultivated this non-PC tough guy persona, and I think there was something there, again, if you don't take it up to 11. And it's hard for him to back down now, you know, if he kind of says, well, let's be reasonable. I mean, he's made his bones on the idea that he's not going to be reasonable on these things, that they're ridiculous. So it just makes it hard for him to backpedal when he comes to times that he really needs to.
But he has moved just in terms of kind of tone and feel of the rhetoric. I mean, most recent victory night speeches talking about party unity and expressing concern about down ballot races for Senate and for House to make sure we maintain Republican majorities. So he has started to move, and as somebody who has been a chameleon all his life, why couldn't he move substantially to the center or even left as a general election candidate and discard some of what we've seen over the last 8 months?
Well, because I think 20 years ago that's more feasible. But you can go on YouTube and you have a treasure trove of Trump stuff, and it's going to be, Hillary certainly isn't going to let people forget. Now, look, you do get a chance to kind of etch a sketch a little bit, and I think there will be interesting facets to this election, like Trump hitting Hillary from the left on trade and on Wall Street and corruption and her speeches and all that stuff. So he's got that, but I just think at a certain point you've gone too far, and you've gotten your vision, your view in the public's eye has crystallized too much to walk it back in a relatively short period of time.
Is there any early indications that you've seen in terms of what kind of down ballot effect he would have on swing House and Senate races?
We haven't seen them yet, and I'm not completely convinced that even if he loses in a landslide, it's going to kill the GOP down ballot. If you look at years like 1972 and 1984, big blowout wins that didn't have much effect down ballot, you say that could happen here. It could be a Trump-specific phenomenon at the presidency. We'll have to wait until we get closer to the convention to see how many Republicans really do just completely decide to sit home. And we'll know that from the polling data as we get past the conventions.
All right, he is Sean Trendy, Senior Elections Analyst for RealClearPolitics.com. Sean, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up next, the Dan Proft story. Smart people are better off with fewer friends. Dan will explain. But first, here's your forecast. Plenty of sunshine right now. It is 33 degrees at O'Hare, going up to a high of 48 degrees. Tonight, a low of 40. And tomorrow, your Tuesday looks spectacular. It's going to be breezy, a lot warmer, a high in the low 60s. Anything good on the roadways? Here's Jim Telemonte.
Thanks, Amy. And Dan, the inbound Edens is good. 19 minutes Lake Cook to Montrose. Outbound, it's bad. 45 minutes Montrose to Lake Cook with moving road work. The delays continue to Lake Avenue. Kennedy inbound delays start at Cumberland. There's a crash at Nagel blocking the left lane in both directions. It's also blocking Blue Line trains right now. So the CTA has shuttle buses running. It is an hour and 5 minutes O'Hare to downtown. 45 minutes from Montrose, 35 in the Express. Outbound 50 to the airport. The Eisenhower, an hour and 25 minutes. Thorndale to downtown, an hour 10 from Manheim. Outbound 41 minutes to Thorndale. Stevenson, 48 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. Ryan is 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. Jim Talamonte, the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
Did you know color is vital to your health? I'm talking about the color of the food you eat. A colorful diet is a part of staying well because many nutrients are color. Eating a wide variety of fruits and vegetables provides your body with the diverse chemistry it needs to heal itself and stay well.
Now ask yourself, how many servings of fruits and vegetables did I eat today? Balance of Nature has solved this problem and provides an easy and affordable way to consume over 10 servings of 31 different whole fruits and vegetables every day.
My name is Dr. Howard. I've recommended Balance of Nature for over 15 years because of the excellent results I see in my patients.
Good health is just a phone call away. What are you waiting for? Call now and take the health challenge to get a free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
The King and I, hear your favorite Broadway tunes, Shall We Dance, Getting to Know You, and more at the beautiful Civic Opera House, opening April 29th, a limited engagement run. Visit lyricopera.org for tickets. And right now, go to AM560 The Answer. We're giving away a pair of tickets through the mobile app. Download or visit our app now to register for your chance to win.
Hey, let me introduce you to my really good friends at Guardian Security Services. Talk about passion. Man, these guys get it. They provide on-site security officers to a wide variety of businesses in Chicagoland. Gated communities, colleges, financial institutions, you name it. Guardian Security Officers are on-site forming lasting relationships. They're so passionate about exceptional service, their client retention ratio is over 95%, and they just celebrated 41 years in Chicago. They thoroughly screen every applicant, typically only accepting 5 out of 100 officers. They hire the best, so you have the best. Easy to reach and backed by a 24-hour service center and exceptional training. If you're unhappy with your on-site security or door staff or anticipate a need in the future, man, contact Guardian Security Services. Tell them Joe Walsh sent you. Call right now, 708-385-3300. That's 708-385-3300.
The following is a paid political announcement.
When did Republicans lose their backbone, their guts, their conviction? Some will say they stood up to Obama. That's easy. But who stood up to their own party? That's Marlin Stutzman. Marlin said no to the establishment by voting against John Boehner. And he fought sweetheart deals on both sides by voting against the omnibus. Because politicians refuse to get it done, Marlin authored the only conservative budget that actually balances. And to keep the Washington crowd from getting cozy, Marlin is fighting for term limits to toss the career politicians out. It's not good enough to just vote for candidates who say they're conservative. We need leaders who have the guts to act like one. Marlin knows when Republicans bend, America breaks. Stand strong, Marlin. Conservative Marlin Stutzman for Senate.
I'm Marlin Stutzman, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Stutzman for Senate.
Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues now. And make sure to stay tuned to catch me, Mike Gallagher, coming up at 9, only on AM 560, The Answer.
Oh, see the song Friends? Nice.
I see what he did there. Last month in the British Journal of Psychology, which I know you don't miss, Amy.
I love that. Did you put the copy back on my desk?
It's back on your desk. A couple of evolutionary psychologists dug into the question of what makes a life well-lived. And they theorized about happiness. They find that their findings, 15,000 respondents, large national survey, adults aged 18 to 28. People who live in more densely populated areas tend to report less satisfaction with their life overall.
Really?
Yeah.
So we should all move to the farm.
Move to the country.
I grew up on a farm.
Yeah, and second, that the more social interactions with close friends a person has, the greater their self-reported happiness. But there's an exception.
Okay. Is this the Dan Proft exception?
This is the Proft exception. For these, for more intelligent people, these correlations were diminished or even reversed. It turns out, for example, particularly in the latter measure, when smart people spend more time with their friends, it makes them less happy. Which is, number one, my cover story. Number two, it's kind of intuitive if you think about it. I mean, if I spend time with my friends, that's less time I have to spend with me.
Oh, so you can't spend time with yourself with your buddies.
Well, right. And Carol,
or maybe is it possible that your friends just can't keep up with you intellectually and you find that frustrating? And so you tend to be unhappy when you're with them? That's just my self-diagnosis.
Well,
and I will be charging $10 at the end of the session.
It also could be that I don't have any friends. There's always that, too.
Well, you've some
which makes
friends.
not spending time with friends I don't have very easy. Carol Graham of the Brookings Institute, she said that the findings here are not really a surprise. It just suggests that those with more intelligence and the capacity to use it are less likely to spend so much time socializing because they're focused on some other long-term objective, like in my case, global domination. And so if I got to stay focused on that I can't, be hanging out with my ne'er-do-well friends and getting off track. Otherwise, how do I achieve global
Hey, do you know if we're
domination?
happier if we have kids or are we less happy?
They only looked at population density and IQ and social interaction. I'm sorry, but I'll have them pick that one up next.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
CertaPro painters are here for every stage of your life, from